OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's 7:30 on this Friday morning, and you're very welcome along to OTBAM. And it is Mayo versus Galway all morning here, all the way through until 9:30 this morning. We were considering what duo to get in today. We were considering getting Michael D. Higgins and Enda Kenny in. We decided not to do that. We decided perhaps we should get Mary Robinson and the Saw Doctors in. Not going to do that. We settled in the end for the ideal Mayo and Galway duo. Maire, Treasa and Cheallaigh and Kevin Kilbane, you're very welcome.
I don't know what to say with that intro.
That was just in elite company there. That was it, yeah.
Yeah, to knock out Kevin Kilbane though, I wore my maroon and white because he's proper heavyweight.
And she didn't even recognise it as well. And I said, "You even wearing the colours when you come in?" Oh, it wasn't by choice. Anyway.
I was like, "Oh, so I am." Yeah. I just did it by osmosis.
Right, let's play a quick game. Maire, Treasa, tell me your favourite thing about Mayo.
Parts of it are beautiful.
Parts of it are beautiful. Tell me your favourite thing about Galway, Kevin.
Well, I have an aunt that lives in Lettermore down in Connemara, so I've spent a bit of time over there. So yeah, Galway, beautiful Connemara. That's the best thing about Galway. Yeah, beautiful Connemara.
So you like each other's scenery, and that's where it begins and ends.
Well, no, the road to Mayo and out of Mayo is lovely. When you go up to where I was saying very lyrical things about it last Saturday. The road up from when you come from your Mom Valley up through Leenane, and you see Lewisburg to your left, and you're coming up toward Westport, and you see Croagh-Patrick coming up over the distance.
I mean, better than that.
It's more beautiful when you're driving in the direction of Galway, obviously. It's fabulous, but that's nice.
I think Galway people are great, lovely people.
Yeah, really they're okay. They're not too bad.
We're not the worst.
We're going to have backup for you, Kevin, later on. David Brady will be joining us very shortly, and we will have plenty of Mayo and Galway stuff, as you can imagine, over the next couple of hours. But we want to talk about what's been pretty exciting summers for you both, not just on the GA front. Like, we'll start with you, Kevin. Yeah. Fresh from Paul Weller last night.
Yeah, I was at Paul Weller last night. Tonight I'm going to Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott. I'm looking forward to that again. Weller was brilliant. I've probably the fourth time I've seen Weller now, and it was just He's just class, isn't he? How old is he now? Must be 60, I think, 60 odd now. Paul Weller, 61. And just outstanding, honestly. The voice is the same as ever. I believe he's given up alcohol years ago now, so he's a different man, but it was class, yeah. Really, really good gig. It's been a fairly eventful summer for you. You stayed at home, you've just gone to gigs, gone to festivals. Yeah, I've done a bit of travelling around Ireland. I've been to obviously a few Mayo games. I've been over in Castlebar. I've been up at Newry the week. I wasn't in Castlebar last weekend for the Armagh game. I missed it because I was up in Buncrana last weekend, up in Donegal, and that was a good weekend as well. Yeah, it's been very good, very, very good. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Achill, I was in Achill as well last week, which is nice. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, it looked beautiful, to be fair. You're off to Westlife tonight, Maire, Treasa? I am. I'm off to Westlife. I have to balance Kevin. So every time Paul Heaton, Jackie Abbott, and you're going to Westlife. Jesus, come on. That's why I'm here. I have to bring a bit of cheese back into it because you're far too cool with your musical choices. And like, it's in Croke Park, and the last concert I saw in Croke Park was One Direction, and I didn't have any children with me. God. It was just me and girls. We just went for the night out. So going to Westlife tonight, and a bit like Kevin, I've been travelling around the countryside for the summer. I'm living the student life now for the summer. It's been great. I was down in Wexford actually the night they drew with Kilkenny. I stayed down in Wexford that night. That was great fun. It was Castlebar last weekend. That was great fun. Where else was I? I've been to Galway a few times. Bit of travelling around. Yeah, you've brought Mayo mixed fortunes across the summer, haven't you? So that's where it is, yeah. Well, I wasn't at the Roscommon game. Oh, sorry, I thought you were at the Roscommon game. Oh, no. So it's not too bad then. No, so are you going to Limerick on? You're not in Limerick? I am, yeah, I'm working there. Well, there you go then. So that's it, the Mayo win then. Well, who knows? You'd be nuts to try and call it. Well, call it is it's exactly what we're going to try and do this morning. David Brady's prediction, I dare say, is going to be Mayo leading, so we're going to need the case. Yeah, I don't want David Brady to speak, actually. Just want David Brady to say nothing. He's probably going to show up in his Mayo jersey now after seeing my maroon and white. Let's go to Lahinch very quickly. John Duggan, a very good morning to you. Oh, and Maire, Treasa, and Kevin, how are you? All good. Good man, John. If it came down to a Paul Weller or a Westlife, which one are you picking? I'm the madman, Paul Weller. Good man. Definitely. I'm down the tube station at midnight, folks. How's everything there? Of course, play is underway at this point. John, is it another beautiful morning down in Clare? A little bit cloudy, your own. Little bit of a breeze, but really, like when we were talking about links golf, not really a breeze. And Cormac Sharpen was 4 under par finishing yesterday. He's bogeyed his first hole, so he's back to 3 under. Robert Rock making a move, the runner-up in the playoff to Shane Lowry 10 years ago at Baltray. So he's had 2 early birdies to go to 5 under par. But we're all waiting for Padraig. Half 80, tees off.
here at Lahinch, and it was just a magical day yesterday. I think Padraig Harrington's a national treasure. To me, he's my favourite sports person. I think he's the greatest sports person we've ever had in this country, and that's something I've said many times on media platforms. And 7 under par, 63 out of nowhere, had that wrist issue, had told people not to back him this week. Obviously has those Ryder Cup duties with Europe. Kept the ball in play, 5 birdies and 6 holes, beautiful sunshine, great crowds. It was like they couldn't have asked for anything better here, the organisers, on the first day of Lahinch.
John, I'd be a serial backer of Padraig Harrington in years gone by. And when you mention a wrist injury, I didn't back him actually in his second Open when he had a wrist injury prior to that, and I backed him for his PGA, I backed him for his first Open, I backed him for a couple of his wins on the US tour as well. And his wrist injury put me off because he talked himself down. The wrist injury, it's given me trouble. But if you heard his interview with Nathan the other day when he was talking about, look, I'm 100 to 1, it's just crazy odds. And the way he started, geez, it doesn't look a bad bet now, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I suppose the reason why he said that is because links golf, he's playing links golf. A lot of the players here don't know the conditions. They play parkland golf, they play target golf all the time. And Padraig has been playing at Lahinch for 30 years, and on and off obviously. But he's won 2 Opens, as you say. He's won at links courses. He's played in all types of conditions all around the country, and he spent a long period of time in the 90s as an amateur honing his game in these type of courses. In the south of Ireland and the close in the Irish amateur. So, yeah, look, his game is tailor-made for it because he's got the imagination and the intelligence and the creativity to play the shots if he's hitting the ball well, and he was able to just turn it on yesterday. And it's amazing at 47 years of age that he still has that determination, that grit, that drive, and the game. Because he's always had the short game, Padraig Harrington. If he has the long game working, because the short game has always been great, but if the long game is working, then the putts start going in. And he said it was relatively easy. What'll happen the next 3 days, we don't know. Is there rust there? But he's put himself in a great position. He's shot ahead of Xander Lombard of South Africa. But there are a host of great players as well in the mix. Martin Keimer, 4 under par. Shane Lowry, 4 under par. John Ram is 3 under. Lee Westwood, 4 under. Ian Poulter, 4 under. It'll be a great weekend.
For sure. Like, you think about a player of Padraig Harrington's vintage, somebody who's got his majors in his back pocket already, and perhaps the idea that the pressure is off in his career now, but that is not the case at all with Padraig Harrington. The pressure's on. He's talking about the fact that this is really the last couple of years he may have. The Ryder Cup may take over next year, that this summer really is where he needs to make a bit of hay while the sun is shining. So it's great that he's putting that pressure on himself, and further proof that he delivers when the pressure is on.
Well, he's the greatest competitor for me. I always kind of would have said only Vijay Singh would have opened and closed more driving ranges than Padraig Harrington. Like, he remodeled his swing under Bob Torrance, came and won 3 majors in the space of 18 months. That's 3 more than Colin Montgomery. That's 3 more than Lee Westwood. No European had won a PGA championship in the USA since the 30s before he won it in 2008. So this is a global game. Americans don't play rugby, and Padraig Harrington has done so much for the sport and for the country because he has never really changed. He's the same guy, I think, that he's always been. Very intelligent, left field, thinks differently, and just a great ambassador. And the one thing I kind of felt last night was that it made us forget that Rory McIlroy isn't here, that Padraig Harrington was dominating the headlines. Now, we know why Rory isn't here at scheduling. To be fair to Rory, he has been excellent for the Irish Open. I think he arguably saved the tournament. So I'm not having a dig here. I'm just saying that Rory McIlroy is box office. If he was here this week, you would see the American media. You would have seen a much bigger presence from the United States because he is box office in all ways. But Padraig Harrington is putting himself on Irish golf in the shop window by what he did yesterday.
Quick word on Shane Lowry yesterday, John. You obviously mentioned Cormac Sharvin. Himself and Lowry obviously were tied yesterday, but you said Sharvin's obviously after dropping a shot this morning, so Lowry's the second best of the Irish still, I presume. Felt a bit under the weather yesterday, but still played well.
Well, that's mentality, Owen. Yeah. Like, he didn't drive the ball very well. Maybe a few years ago he might have got angry and frustrated. I've seen him walk off a course angry, whereas he kept the ball in play. Like, I watched him on the 17th, hit a great approach, just missed the putt, and then on the 18th he played the hole very intelligently and got a birdie on the par 5. So we're seeing maybe smarter golf, more carefree golf, and he's not beating himself up as much possibly when things go wrong. Took him a long time maybe to get over the US Open defeat at Oakmont to Dustin Johnson a few years ago, but he's jumped 40 places in the world rankings by having possibly a better attitude and being more relaxed, not beating himself up when things go wrong. And now what happens is you turn a possible 71 or 70 into a 66, and that gives him a big chance not only this weekend but going into the Open at Royal Portrush in a couple of weeks' time. So if anybody's going to Lahinch, by the way, folks, if you're tuned into Off the Ball Radio, or if you're watching this morning, there's some really good vantage points around the course. Like, it's quite hilly. There's a lot of dunes here at Lahinch. It's a quirky kind of course. It's quite tight, but you can maybe stand on, for example, behind the 5th hole, which is actually a blind tee shot. You can see the 17th green, you can see the 14th green, you can see the 18th tee shot. So there are really good vantage points for those attending today and over the weekend to see some of the top golfers in the world.
John, enjoy the golf. We'll chat to you again in an hour for another update.
All right, guys, thanks.
John Duggan there, live on the line from Lahinch. Let's tell you what's coming up on OTBAM this morning. We're live with you until 9:30. The sports pages coming your way in just a moment. Mayo versus Galway with the man himself, David Brady, joining us in studio from 8 a.m. The World Cup final then from 8:25. We'll get stuck into the USA versus Netherlands. Deal or No Deal then, featuring Kevin Kilbane at 8:40. It's been a busy week of transfers, most importantly of transfer rumours. We'll go through a lot of them before 9, and then getting into the Beef is Real Part 2. Nadal versus Kyrgios. It lived up to the billing yesterday. It was just as juicy as we hoped it would be. The juiciest beef, I don't know where those puns are going to end. 9:10, John Duggan's Irish Open. It's another update from John Duggan, and then 9:20, Phil Egan will be joining us for some sports news. Before that is time for the back pages. And there is only one place.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic, live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilbane and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
And money can't buy the gift getting to hang out with Kevin Kilbane.
Ah, jeez.
Priceless.
Can you imagine that?
And I don't even have to go to Abu Dhabi. Isn't it great?
That can't be a good thing, can it? Honest to God.
Must be looking forward to that.
That'd be good, yeah. It'd be very good. Looking forward to it.
Shane Larry was saying the National is absolutely amazing.
Is it?
Some course, by all accounts.
Yeah, I'm not the best golfer. I like to play, but I'm terrible. I prefer to watch, actually. But yeah, but it'd be good.
Surprised you didn't get the call to the Pro-Am this week.
I'm not good enough. Not good enough, Owen, you know. I don't put myself out there. I'm not a networker, you know. Just keep the head down.
Who are you suggesting is a networker? You're not suggesting that closest to the pin champion 2019, Joe Malloy, is a networker or anything, are you?
Well, yeah, we'll let Joe, you know, to his own device. He's not a bad fella, is he?
Let's look at the back pages this morning. And there's only one place to start. It's the best headline of the morning. Congratulations to everybody at the Irish Daily Star, because I've got a picture of Padraig Harrington with his ice cream yesterday, and it says 99 problems, but Lahinch ain't one. It is quite the headline. You've also got on the back page Delaney demoted by UEFA. He's been demoted from his role as UEFA Youth and Amateur Football Committee Chairman to sharing the Deputy Vice Chair's position with UEFA. Pogba going down under. Paul Pogba will be joining Manchester United on their travel to Australia over the next couple of weeks. And don't rock the boat, says Dublin forward Dean Rock. He won't let the debate over funding of GEA in the capital disrupt his focus.
I have the Herald here. Before I tell you that story, I forgot when you said 99 problems. I remember being down at Lahinch on a girly trip with girls who used to work with me in TG Cahir back in the day, and Donegal were playing, and one of the girls was from Donegal, and we were wandering around and we found a small little pub belonging to an elderly gentleman that was showing Donegal playing. So Tina's like, yes, we'll go in here. We went in, we all ordered our drinks. There's a group of 8 of us, and she goes, brilliant, you're showing the Donegal game. We sat down, your man just picked up the remote, turned it off. And he was like, now have your drinks.
Jeez, that's what else did he do? What was the reason for that?
I don't know. Either he didn't like the fact that somebody from Donegal had spotted Donegal playing and wanted to come in and watch, or he just wanted to learn us.
Oh, they're serious about their business down there.
So we had 99 problems, but Lahinch was one for a while. For Tina, I mean, we still have lovely drinks, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Harold, we'll move on the bus. We have 2-tier initiative worth exploring, according to Kieran Whelan. That's about the GAA's proposed changes. We expect battle. That's a piece with Dublin's David Treasa talking about what he says is a massive test against Laois in Portlaoise, and saying basically all their good work will be undone if they come up there. And Kevin, you're not so sure on this headline here. Shea set to join Frank's.
Oh no, we'll see. Shea's with Derby at the moment. They're in Tampa, I think. Derby have gone pre-season, so he's still at Derby, but I don't know. I wouldn't expect that to happen now.
You wouldn't expect him to go to Chelsea?
I don't know. It doesn't look on the cards anyway. Yeah, we'll see.
Because we'd obviously made that assumption here that he would follow Frank Lampard, but I guess we made that assumption that he was tied to Frank Lampard rather than Derby County.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, it's not so much that. It's not so much even that, but it's just the way it works, isn't it? I think Chelsea have got. I think it was Hilario's in there. I think they got Cudicini as coaches around the club as well. So I think there's a big Chelsea connection there anyway. So we'll see further down.
It's something that Given wants to do, get in with a Premier League club ASAP.
Oh, he would. I'm sure what an opportunity it would be, though, if it came about for him anyway. I think it's just circumstances.
Yeah, we'll see anyway. Hopefully we'll get some clarity on that in the next couple of days. The back page of the Sun this morning is Sands of Time are running out. Padraig Harrington saying it's now or never for my career. Some great back pages dedicated to Padraig Harrington this morning. Naughty Nick is at it again. Rafa Nadal branded Nick Kyrgios dangerous and disrespectful after winning their grudge match. And Franks for nothing. Frank Lampard admits he must prove himself all over again to Chelsea's fans.
I have the Racing Post, and obviously would be Frank Lampard there. Chelsea legend Lampard 5-4 to deliver a top 4 finish, and they're also focusing on Wimbledon. Stellar pair of hot favourites for doubles opener, and that's of course Andy Murray and Serena Williams.
The back page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning is now or never. Harrington is keen to strike while he's hot, and Rebels boosted by final display. So after pushing Kerry to the brink in the Munster final, Cork have named an unchanged side for their game against Laois this weekend.
The Independent. That's not like good headline of Harrington. Nice picture of back in the swing.
Great
Harrington
picture.
turns back the clock as cards 8 birdies on the way to a sizzling 63 at Lahinch. It's a great picture, actually. Just shows how beautiful Lahinch is as well. And an interesting headline from Martin Breheny. Leinster boss refuses to rule out hurling expansion, and that's about the possibility of expanding the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship from 5 teams to 6. Basically in the argument that the team that's lowest tier there, it's not going to do them much good if they're just going to be coming up and down every year. So
what do you reckon?
I can see the merits of it, absolutely. You're not going to improve unless you're playing the best. I don't know. Carlow will have learnt a lot this year and they'll go back down with that, but are they going to progress? Probably not, being at the top level, the next level down. I don't know. I mean, you'd be more used to this, obviously, in a footballing sense, where you'd know teams that would be kind of in the bottom 3, 4 and the top 2 or 3 in the next one. Like, does it do you good to stay in the bottom 3, 4?
I've listened to a lot of the arguments around it when I've been, about
being a yo-yo team, basically.
Yeah, it is. Would you rather play more games? Would you rather play at your level, get a competitive team up? But you may have a team. We know what it is within the JE. You may have a team one year where you may be outstanding. You may have real potential, and you've not got a chance of actually going to seriously go and compete. And the next season, that team might be disbanded. You might not be able to compete then. So it's always within the JA. It's almost strike while the iron's hot, isn't it? I don't know. There's arguments to and for and against that, I suppose, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure.
Massive arguments though as well. That's the thing.
The thing is, when we saw a couple of the arguments recently, like the Paul Cody thread on Twitter, when he was talking about the fact that Carlow were getting a bit more exposure this year because they were playing the top tier, he also had the caveat that Carlow were the team that were ultimately resigned to the end of the Sunday game in a 2-minute report package or whatever it may have been. That I wondered, does it just add another element of dead rubber to the Leinster Championship? Like, to put it bluntly, like I wouldn't say that's the case. I think it would mean that the bottom 2 their face-off would become a vital game because that team would get relegated.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's as you say, there is kind of 2 edges to the sword, and I can definitely see Carlow building on it next year, and I can definitely see promotion for them doing a lot of good for them in the long run. Ultimately, though, what does that mean for the team below them, and what does that mean for a team that does get relegated again next year? There will be a team that gets relegated and eventually starts to dwindle away. So I don't know. 6 is a nice even number and it's an easy fix. There will be no bye week in the Leinster Championship, so it's definitely workable. And I would not be surprised to see it happen at all. Back page of the Mayo this morning is Harrington and Frank Lampard in the same headline. Good to be back. Lampard laughs off the pressure and vows to succeed as Chelsea boss, like he did as a player. And with regards to Padraig Harrington, home hero Harrington has a dream start at Lahinch as he fires a fab 7 under 63. Meanwhile, Pep has turned Manchester blue. So Rodri was unveiled by Manchester City and wasted no time in taunting local rivals United by insisting the city is now blue. Great signing for City, Kev.
Yeah, good signing. Massive. It's the way it is. There's always a premium on City when they're signing players. Every year they're breaking the transfer record. Next year we'll be talking about a different player that's going in. Not a massively high-profile player in terms of what he's actually done in the game, but he's just been about steady progression. And what he's done, Pep Guardiola, with players over the last few years, and I was in here last night briefly, and the lads were talking about someone like Bernardo Silva, who didn't play an awful lot, particularly in his first 6 months at City, and he was able to work his way into the team. Now he's one of the key players. David Silva will move on next summer, so probably Fernandinho probably on.
He's a Fernandinho replacement.
He's a Fernandinho replacement, exactly what he'll be. So it's how he's worked it. He seems to be a step ahead all the time, Guardiola, in signing these players, and he'll be a player for 10 years there at City, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. You've got the Irish Examiner this morning, Maire, Treasa?
I do, yeah, and their sports section again has a photo of Padraig Harrington on the front with Mr. Cool as the headline. Dream Irish Open start for Harrington in Lahinch, the sunshine, and a really interesting bit of a long read in the back by Paul Rouse. It's really worth having a good. I've only managed to read half of it before we came on air. Why a man who has never had a GAA game is immortalised at Croker, and it is about. We've all heard of the Nally stand. It is about P.W. Nally. It is telling his story, and also I totally forgot. Croke Park's famous Nally stand was re-erected in Port Columkill in Tyrone in 2007, which I totally forgot happened, but. It's all here by Paul Rouse. I think it's well worth the read. It's always good. I think GAA history is always really fascinating.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff we don't know, and that's our own faults. And
who is P.W. Nally? Did you get grasp on?
I did not.
Exactly the same thing. That who is he?
I can put on my best bedtime reading voice and read the whole thing for you. But I don't know anything about P.W. Nally. I won't lie to you. But it says here in the headline he helped to organise the meeting in Irishtown in 1879, where the Land League was founded, and he died in Mountjoy Jail November 9th, 1891. I don't know anything about him between that. And it just goes to show there are all these stands and stuff in Croke Park and all these historical monuments and things that we just don't know. We just know the names. And
it's
the
definitely
names,
worth a read, that.
The names of the pitches all around the country, like McHale Park, Cusack Park, the two Cusack Parks. There's all these different names. And we just, Pierce Stadium, we don't know anything about it. Well, some people do, but I'm going to say I'm not good on my history. I should be better.
Yeah, Paul Rouse's column, always worth a read on a Friday. The Irish Times goes with the golf. Harrington reborn in County Clare, says the main headline there. Also a headline on Cormac Sharvin, stepping up to the plate en route to his 66. Obviously hasn't been the best start to his round there, according to John Duggan's report at the moment. We'll bring you through the scores very, very shortly indeed. Interesting line here. Sharvin, a Walker Cup player on a team which included Paul Dunn in 2015, narrowly missed out on the tour card at Q School last year. This rings a bell, but a lot of people might not have known this. He missed out on the tour card at Q School when penalised 2 strokes for mistakenly playing a tee shot marginally outside the tee markers. Imagine that.
Oh, God.
Your entire professionalism on the line, and you take a tee shot outside the tee markers. It does ring a bell. I think the lads in Golf Weekly might have done it, or maybe they had him on the show. And I've heard this story, but it just kind of reminds you just how small the margins are in this game on every level. Performed well in the Challenge Tour this year with 3 top 10 finishes in his last 5 events. Obviously, for someone like him and with places going for the Open, it's a massive week altogether for him. We'll bring you up to speed, as I say, on the Irish Open very shortly once we get an update on that. And you've got a couple of the UK back pages.
Yeah, here's the Telegraph, and obviously they're going to be focusing very much on Wimbledon and the crack that was happening there yesterday. And a ferocious looking picture of Rafa Nadal. Show me some respect. Nadal blasts Kyrgios after Australian admits trying to hit him during grudge match, which is totally non-genteel.
I was saying just there before we came on, I like Wimbledon. I like watching the tennis. I always have done. And yesterday I was watching the golf, and it's like you end up flicking round. And I saw a tweet from Stephen Doyle that game was about to start, Kyrgios, and I immediately just put it straight on. I turned the golf off, so I watched the first set of that before I actually came into town last night. So it's amazing, really, when something like that. Kyrgios has acted like an arsehole. We know that, and he's acted like an arsehole for a long time. But there's a bit of buzz around him, and that's the thing. So all of a sudden now there's a spark about him, and people are going to want to watch tennis just because he's been a bit of an arse. So I don't know. I think characters are always great to have in any sport, and he's certainly one of those. Yeah,
for sure. I don't want to say I really, really like Nick Kyrgios. Some of the stuff that he does kind of annoys me a little bit. But at least he's truthful and honest.
He's created a spark, hasn't he? There's a spark there now, and he's been knocked out, so we're not going to see him. But if he's playing at the US Open or whatever it would be, you're going to watch him to see what sort of carry on is happening on court.
I think as well it makes it easier to watch and makes it a little bit more entertaining when you kind of see a disruptor like that in a sport that is so ingrained in I don't know, the institution that has been Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Andy Murray. Anybody who says anything about them, you need to leave this press room immediately. You're not allowed to hang around Wimbledon. Nick Kyrgios is one of those people who's like, I'm not going to be reverent towards Rafa Nadal just because he's a legend of the game. I'm going to be myself, and I like that.
But you also have, like, you know, we've had these stories in the women's tennis actually for years, because obviously you have the rivalry, say, between Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova. They just do not like each other, and it is brilliant. And we've seen a lot of that kind of bitterness, I suppose, for the want of a better word, and bite in women's matches. They have been in the men's matches too, but they've been much more, I suppose, genteel.
It's more respect, isn't it? I've got to respect him, is what Owen's saying there as well. Anyone that talks bad about the top four, badly about the top four over the last 10 years since they've been dominating, it's like almost you discarded that, so you can't say that about him. Whereas the women's game has had spark in years, but this now with Kyrgios in there, you hope now that he can actually go on and be a bit of a competitor over the next year, a serious competitor anyway, because it would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he really needs to...
Yeah, he's got to go on to the next level before... He probably needed to be at Nadal's level or Federer's level before he's actually been the way that he is. It's almost that... But I don't know.
I think he needs a highly paid sports psychologist, somebody like me, who could go along, help him channel that rage, create something productive with it.
Make your pitch.
I should have brought my business cards in.
This is Dragon's Den. Nick Kyrgios is one of the Dragons. I don't know, he's yesterday in his press conference was very interesting, talking very honestly about just having the wrong attitude at times. He was like, I kind of gave up on that game. I shouldn't have given up on that game. But
it's very hard to stay...
Completely.
You know, in tennis in particular, and golf, it's so hard to keep that kind of focus. Like, I've been to Wimbledon a few times, and you're watching them, and they're in the middle of this most genteel but yet baying crowd, when you're allowed to make noise for like 10 seconds and the place goes nuts, and then you have to shut up, and then you just hear the ball bouncing. It's really tough on the mind. And then the likes of Kyrgios, when he's just a bit random as a person, I think. I don't know what's going on in his head. Obviously, we don't know what's going on, but is he that abnormal? I suppose the only difference is I think he might just be expressing what the other players are feeling. A lot of the time they're just smarter in that they hold it in. I think that's the difference. Yeah,
it might be. We're going to have Colin Boothig in a little bit later on as well. He went through that beef yesterday on OTBAM, and it is also the main story on the back of the London Times this morning. Irate Kyrgios blast Nadal and umpire for their performances yesterday. And I think that's probably the same story in The Guardian, or have they gone with something else?
No, The Guardian, same thing. They have a picture of Rafa Nadal, and they also have, I'm ready, I will try to deliver. Chelsea playing days count for nothing as coach, says Lampard.
If you're a Chelsea fan, are you excited, Kev?
Yeah, there's risk, of course, there's an element of risk with it, but, and I was talking about it last night, would he have got the Chelsea job if Chelsea didn't have the transfer ban? I'd probably say no, given the history of Chelsea the last 15 years. I don't think he would have got it, but with Jody Morris, with his relationship with the youngsters there at Chelsea, and how he's helped progress a lot of the younger players coming through the system there at Chelsea, I think that helps. I think that's why he's got the job. So there's the romantic that's within me that would always be, yes, this is a good appointment, but there's a lot of caution with it as well, that if it's going wrong, are you going to give him 2 years? Chelsea don't have a history of giving managers 2 years. It's not on the cards with Chelsea. So if Chelsea lose a few games, and you know, we're at Christmas time and Chelsea are mid-table and they're not necessarily playing quite well, will that be pressure on Frank Lampard? And it will be, essentially, but I think Chelsea will probably give him more time. He has that goodwill towards him more so than any other manager going in there. So I think it's a great appointment, because I've said it so many times that ex-players getting into coaching and management has to be a good thing. But he has to earn it now, and he's right what he's saying. His playing career actually means nothing. It means nothing, realistically. He'll get the goodwill because of it, but it's up to him now to get the best out of the team.
For some of the failings that Chelsea had last year, it wasn't a bad season. No, it wasn't a disastrous season.
Champions League finish, or top four finish, and a Europa League winners. So not at all, and that's where they are. City and Liverpool dominated last season, and they were the next best. So it's hardly a bad season.
What is the margin for improvement here? Like, you're taking away Maurizio Sarri here and putting in Frank Lampard. In my opinion, Maurizio Sarri is an outstanding manager. He may not have done the best job possible with Chelsea. Like, I do think he has to take some...
Is that the dressing room, though, Owen? I just think that is the problems in that dressing room there, and there has been for a number of years. Are the characters now within Premier League football taking over?
Well, Sarri, I think, has to take some of the blame for that, to not be able to actually control a dressing room, doesn't he? And I think that
it depends on the state of the dressing room before
I don't know about that, Owen. I just think now the mentality on a modern day footballer now, it's almost as if you've got to, like what Klopp's done at Liverpool, and look how he is, and look how he's a different character, different personality. And I understand that that's the way that maybe you've got to be, but But who else is like Klopp? There's no one in world management, in coaching, that's like Klopp. He's a one-off, he's unique. And that's what makes him so appealing to anyone when we're all watching him.
But look at someone like Maurizio Pochettino. Like, the idea that the players that he likes or the players that he feels are valuable to him, he treats them like a son. Whereas the players that he feels are no use to him, he treats them like a stranger.
Yeah.
And you can be a hard ass as well. You don't have to be like Klopp and be enthusiastic and have this insanely amazing personality. Like, I'd like bet on Frank Lampard having a better control of that dressing room than Maurizio Sarri, while also maintaining that Sarri's probably a better football
I'd probably say
manager.
Initially. But once you get a month or two into the season, that goes out the window. It's about what's he doing for me? Like, players are so selfish, and that's the way that's made them so driven. You have to be so selfish. If a manager's not doing well by you, then that can just come across the dressing room. Well, Frank Lampard's reputation is it could be in tatters very quickly. But that's the same for any coach going into any club, and it's about, he's saying that how you manage your dressing room is key now. It's probably not what he does on the training ground, because he'll have his coaches around him. It's about how he handles individuals in there, and he has that goodwill from the team and from the supporters straight away. But he has to do a lot. Yeah.
And isn't that the difference then, really? Because, say, for example, if things went downhill rapidly for Poch next season, he has all this back history that he can say, I've done this, I've done that, so he'll get another job. But isn't that the risk that Lampard takes, that he could destroy his career before it starts?
That's 100%. Because realistically, he should not be getting that Chelsea job with what he's done in his management. Given what how Chelsea have made their appointments over the years, Frank Lampard should not be getting that job. But it's because of his relationship with the club and how he's been, how he is getting that job. So fair play to him. Totally wish him well. But there's a huge job on there as well, given that they have that transfer ban as well.
Yeah, for sure. Right, we're going to turn back to golf. We're going to get to Mayo against Galway in just a moment, because David Brady is suited and booted and he's waiting outside. But let's have a look at the man.
What a man. What a man.
First of all, let's have a look at the man of the moment, Padraig Harrington. He was speaking to Nathan after yesterday's round of 63.
Look, this was, I know I'm using the word pleasant and nice, and that's kind of what it was like out there. Myself and Poulter were having a stroll, having a chat. Good things were happening, so it obviously makes it easier. Didn't have to work that hard. I wasn't out of position very much all day. I think the first real chip shot I had was on 11, where I didn't get up and down. It was that kind of day. It was pretty straightforward. Good, and I won't say that momentum was with me. Good things were happening, but it was quite a stress-free round.
That run of 5 birdies and 6 holes, the place seemed to gain momentum, come alive, everybody get behind you. How much were you buzzing off that?
Yeah, I like that, no doubt about it. I turned a good solid round all of a sudden into a great round, and I knew there was other chances, and in some ways I might have, maybe if I got 1 or 2 more coming home. But look, it was a nice, steady sort of day. Doesn't always happen you get the 5 out of 6 hole birdies, but they certainly make a good card. Yeah,
when we mentioned the 100 to 1 yesterday, you said maybe hold off, and I told the nation, and I'm sure they're all watching this wondering maybe they shouldn't have waited a couple of weeks. Are you surprised by that? Are you surprised by that score in any way?
I am the worst tipster ever.
Now you tell us.
When it comes to golf, whoever I pick, I'm terrible. I'm a Jonah when it comes to things like that. But look, 100 to 1 was too high anyway, just because it's a links golf course, and the wise man might have had each way betting me at that. It would have been a big call for anybody to predict that I was going to win it or come out here and win this week. But I'm in good form now, 7 under. This gives me a lot of different scenarios where I can be in with a chance of winning on Sunday.
Padraig Harrington there speaking to Nathan after yesterday's incredible round at Lahinch. It is 8:03 on this Friday morning, and you're watching OTBAM. We're back talking Mayo against Galway in just a moment and the rest of the qualifiers, but first we want to hear now from Dean Rock, who's keen to regain his starting place and free-taking duties for Dublin.
Cormac Costello came in there and he was kicking over frees to beat the band, and he's been having a brilliant year. Would you look at him as a rival in the panel yourself?
No, not at all. Look, I think it's great. I mean, myself and Cormac would have practiced frees together for the last number of years, and it was great to see him, kick so well in the Leinster Championship as well, which is brilliant. You need that competition amongst the squad. Myself and Cormac obviously kick frees. Paul Mannion can kick frees too. So you need options, and you need lots of people able to kick the ball over the bar from dead ball situations. So it's great to have that competition, and you need it in all areas of the panel, and in particular then for free taking as well. So he's done brilliant, and if Cormac's kicking balls over the bar and scoring and Dublin are winning, that's the main objective, and that's the big thing. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And what happens then coming into the Super 8s then, if you're both fit and you're both starting, who takes over responsibility then?
Look, that's just something I suppose Jim has to decide. Both of us would be keen to kick free kicks and put the team in the best position to win the game. But whatever the case may be, will be. And there's only a certain amount of free kicks in the game. There's so much other plays you can be involved in and stuff like that. So it's something that obviously, if it does arise, that is something that Jim will decide upon. But it's nothing that either of us are really worried about.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
You're welcome back. Dean Rock there speaking to Stephen Doyle just a moment ago. The idea of free taking is interesting, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But first of all, David Brady is here. Our first guest ever wearing cufflinks, I think.
I'd say Milesy would be a cufflink man as well, yeah. Really? Anthony, yeah.
How good does he look there? Jeez, I couldn't carry that off. I couldn't carry a pink tie off for starters anyway.
Do you want to say silk purse? So's there. That's about me.
What time is the wedding?
This is my Friday attire, yeah.
This is casual Friday.
It's casual Friday,
what do you wear on Monday?
T-shirt and a pair of shorts. I only work one day a week.
You upset Kevin Kilbane as soon as you came in. What did he say?
He said...
he said, who's Paul Weller? I have to Google his songs. Jesus, you've never heard of Paul Weller?
I've heard of him in the last 5 minutes, to be honest with you. You Do Something to Me came up. Is that one of the songs?
Of course, that was his later stuff through the 90s, Wildwood and all that, but you don't know the Jam. You don't know
the Jam.
The Style Council.
You know what? I swear to God, music is not a forte. Either is GA or myself. Just before you got in there. But no, I'm not a music man.
Well, we'll try and get you to a gig with Kev at some point. Next time Weller's back in town.
He's a great man for gigs.
Yeah.
You would love Weller.
I can dance. I can dance. Yeah.
I think we need to start him off gently, though. Really, I think you should be coming to Westlife with me tonight and building up to Weller. You can't go straight to Weller. You can't go straight to Weller.
I'm going to Westlife. I want to be fresh as a trout tomorrow for a big day.
That's
I'll
it.
be fresh too. I'm younger though, I can take it.
Yeah. Once I got 50, I can't go to concert. I can't do it anymore. Anyway.
Fresh as a trout for tomorrow, you'll need to be. It's going to be a war, I dare say. We want to touch on Dean Rock there a moment, because the idea of free taking is an interesting one in the context of this game for Mayo tomorrow. Eamon Donoghue had a great piece in the Irish Times yesterday talking about the lack of left footers in the team, and how essentially if you're a team coming up against Mayo, you can let them play down the right-hand side of the pitch. You can foul them on the right-hand side of the pitch, because there's a chance you won't be able to knock over the frees on the right-hand side of the pitch.
Yeah, and look, I have to, and you know what, from a journalism point of view, I think Eamon Donoghue's piece was fantastic, because the amount of, that doesn't come out of your head.
No.
But again, that's the analysis that teams are doing, whether it's the Dublins or the Mayos or Galways this world, to say, where are the weakest? And as a coach, you'd say, if they're coming down the centre, which 50% of the time Mayo, you show them the left. You want them to direct them into that kind of a side, our traffic, because from the stats that Eamon brought, it shows that Mayo are weak. As left footers go, we have probably Aidan O'Shea, who's not our scoring left footer. You'd have Kevin McLaughlin, and after that, you're kind of saying to yourself,
Fionn as well. Fionn's obviously come down well this year. Yeah,
probably the one-sided left footer. But it has. It's just it's not something that says, oh, we've noticed this. This is a constant trend, and teams will do it. Push them over to the right hand side, box them out, But you need a free taker like Dean Rock coming on the last day after, Cormac Costa has been the out-and-out free taker up to this. But to do what he did is just, and he goes, you know what, it's nothing special, but that's his job. And it's the bread and butter, and it's the one thing that Mayo have been lacking, especially from, long range frees, 40 yards, whether it's on the right or left. I think if I look back on the Armagh game, it was their centre back, I think, like Killian O'Connor hasn't kicked the ball really in 12 months to the day. He had a free 40 yards out, left hand side.
I think it was actually 60 metres if you take the angle in.
Yeah. You go the angle and you go, you know what, this is why did the Armagh half back? Yeah. And then you have a 22-yard free, your first kick, it gets into the groove. And tomorrow night, from free taker perspective, you have Shane Walsh, who's phenomenally capable left and right, and it could come down to that. But look at, as we all know, and this tomorrow is, I have to say that I have rarely had as much talk or kind of built up enthusiasm for a game, because it's rivalry at its greatest, and probably the only great rivalry left to a degree, bar maybe Donegal Tyrone, but it's phenomenal.
And it's knockout. First time in 20 years, it's full knockout between Mayo and Galway in the Championship. You were playing that time in 99.
That's the last time that, and then you go to yourself, like, knockout is, I do care, you care, and you care about Galway from a Galway perspective. But if we beat Galway tomorrow night,
what? What happens then?
Because then you close your ears for 12 months, and that's rivalry at its greatest. Because I was in Galway yesterday, and one Galway person and myself started a conversation. There was 3-on-3 at the end of it, and someone's like, if you look at the towns and geographically side by side, whether it's Milltown and Ballandine, that is rivalry at its greatest. But they love their sport. It's not that they hate each other. Yeah. But you go Kilbane, Shrule.
Shrule in itself.
Shrule is a country.
Yeah.
But that's where are you from, Treasa?
Carrow.
Carrow. So you're you have no enemies really around you. But
we have Lettermode.
go over a hill or a valley, and all of a sudden you're towards Lenan, and who's
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
What's your thoughts when you look at that picture? Who is that with you?
I'm not sure.
Gary Fahey, is it?
Was it?
No, it looks a bit like him. My eyes.
You don't like to see a goal man on the ground, so you just pick him up. Come on. I was actually lifting him up, not putting him.
Michael Comer.
Is it Michael Comer?
Yeah.
Anyone like that?
Gary Fahey's around the fullback.
He's twice as fast as you. That's probably the last time I played. I remember I used to have the baby blue boots. I was going through.
I was just going to say, you white boots there. Jeez, that must have been a very new thing in the GAA with the white and blue boots.
I was going through a late life crisis, if I'd say it. It was my last year, but look at every single game I've always played against Galway. I remember it.
Look at this.
That's it.
Give me a kiss to a Galway.
So, if the people say there's no love lost between Galway and Mayo, well, that's definitely an understatement. I had my jaw broken actually at that stage in that game. My jaw was actually broken.
Jeez.
And was
your jaw stuck in that kissing position then?
No, thanks be to God. It was 24 hours later. I was in St James's Hospital. It wasn't long being put back in place. But it was I got an accidental clash, and I didn't realise it. Well, I knew it myself, but I just said, right, there's something wrong here. But I think it was in the Connacht League. That was he's Coleman. He was actually a very good midfielder. But if the argy-bargy starts, you're going. The greatest lesson I was ever told was keep your hands by your side and your feet on your ground, and everything else goes. I suppose the kissing wasn't necessarily part of it. But look at, if you go down from '96, we played Galway in the Connacht final, and you're going, it's still there, the quality and the will to win. And look, there's injuries on both sides tomorrow. Who'll be back or who won't be back? It doesn't matter who's there. If you go and pick 15 people at the side of the road from both counties, you'll get a classic, because it's everything. It is everything. Yeah. It's not about who's the best team tomorrow, because the best teams aren't playing each other. Both teams have a lot of guys injured coming back, and it's still going to be down to football and everything else.
Flatrick on YouTube says 3 Ballina lads knocking the Cara crew heading to the golf and tuning into the gospel according to DB rather. Good to have you with us this morning, Flatrick.
You meant to see. Look, you're mixing the crack for the next 24 hours with a golf in GA between the Mayo lads and Galway lads and everything else is.
And don't forget, we've the Connacht final replay as well between the Galway ladies and Mayo ladies, and that's going to be mean.
It is.
There is a lot of bitterness between those two teams, in the best way.
It's good that you have the fulcrum of Limerick to say this is where it should be played. The replay. I think it's a 4 o'clock.
Yeah. It's actually really good that both teams agreed to do it, because it means then hopefully they'll get more of a crowd, because I think people need to appreciate there's a brilliant rivalry between the Galway and Mayo ladies in the best possible way. Yeah. When I say it's mean, that once they go past that white line, they hate each other, and you see great football. It's amazing to watch. In the last few years, it's swung back and forth between Galway and Mayo. Yeah. So, and the fact that it's a replay now as well brings an extra bit of bite. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It'll be a great appetite wetter.
It is. And like I said to someone, what time are you going to be in Limerick at? And he said, I'm going to be there around 2. I'm going, the game is until 7, but you have the other game at 4. But it's like, and the big thing around Limerick, and I remember from 2014, is everyone is outside the stadium. There's just hundreds, because there's not the local hostelry, no one knows the spots to go. It's just
there's a Supermax next door though.
Well, yeah.
There is.
It'll be well needed if you're there for 5 or 6 hours to watch.
Would you be happy with the arrangement then going to Limerick for the game? How it come about?
You're a Galway manager, I'm Mayo manager. Can you take the gamble that you agree to toss, I agree to toss, and you lose and I win, and you're going?
I think if I was a Galway manager, I wouldn't think too badly about it, because Mayo's home record isn't great.
It's not. This is not a normal game.
But you're still you're still going to Castlebar.
You are, yeah.
That's the
thing. Galway have better than Castlebar.
Yeah.
Is there any room for gambling in this fixture? And that's what you're doing if you toss.
Yes, there is. There will be a gamble made on Aidan O'Shea's fitness. I think he's not going to start.
He will.
He will start. Yeah. So it's not a gamble. He's fully fit.
He's not fully fit.
So it is a gamble.
It's not a gamble.
But that's the case.
It's a needs must. It's a needs must. And again, when you're going, it's not. You're not saying I have to start him from James Horan's perspective. It could be a case of serendipity where you're going, if he's not fully fit for the whole game. And I do think we need to focus on it. We haven't got the hand of cards that we like, but we need to have a fulcrum and a target man in the full forward line to keep Galway honest. And Galway have, for the last...
Sorry, you say target and a fulcrum in the full forward line, you mean...
Someone like if Aidan is at some stage, yes, and you'd like if there's a transgression in the game where you can go, if you can say, right, if there's a place and a time where Aidan can sneak in over the back and say, Darren Cohen come out and play around centre forward and leave space inside for Aidan to hit 1 or 2 high balls, because the way Galway play is ideally suited, not for nothing else. That's been disingenuous, but it's ideally suited to beat Mayo. The way they actually pack the fence, frustrate, they're excellent tacklers. Excellent. They don't give away a lot of silly fouls. It takes away from the game when you have the likes of Shane Welch and Michael Daly and these guys coming back when they're so far away from goal. But it means if they can tease Mayo, and that's what teams have done, that's what Roscommon did, they tease Mayo up into Mayo's attacking half. And our half back line was disjointed. And then if you have quick delivery and you have pace, you can the transition then is a lot more if you're practicing it all the time like Galway have, it's ideally suited. We can't from a Mayo perspective, it will be a dogfight, but we can't allow Galway do what they're good at doing. That's fast counteract. We need to hold our half back line, and we have inexperience. We have guys that, like young Mikey Murray, didn't play a game in his life for Mayo. Up in league or FBD, he played a few minutes the week previous in Newry, but you're going, it's all hands on deck now because there is such a list of injuries and Killian coming back. But yeah, when do you need Killian coming on? Is he going to last 70 minutes? This game is not going to be, it's going to go down to the last. I do think that Killian will be better finishing out the game, because that's when we have lost vital free kicks, that's when you need your bread and butter. That's when you need your men to stand up. We've ended up, and it's been wrong from a tactical point of view, that we haven't had a really out-and-out free taker. If we looked at the Roscommon game, the first opportunity that Kevin McLaughlin got for a free kick is the last kick of the game. You want to say 20 yards, 30 yards, my mind is, it's like whether it's a rugby penalty taker, consistent. You're into the flow, but it's hard to get into the flow in the last 10 minutes when you're now the designated free taker and the pressure is on you.
So the best way for Mayo to win this game, as you've already said there, is to go at times route one, because to not allow Galway to go straight into that full forward line. It does seem like a fairly appealing prospect having Aidan O'Shea in there with someone like Andy Moore running off him. The problem is it's what you lose in midfield.
Yeah, and what do you need in midfield? Like it's you have, okay, you're going to have aerial combat. You're going to have high kicks, kickouts from David Clark and the Galway goalkeeper as well, which you go to yourself, that's an aerial jewel. But you want athleticism. You want someone that can maintain the runs and cover the runners coming back. And I think with Matthew Rowan gone, it's put a lot of onus on Aidan to be getting back more often, because he is the only standout out-and-out midfielder. If you have the likes of Stephen Cohen, and people say about Stephen Cohen from Mayo, he's okay. Okay is good when you're competing against the best in the country, and he has athleticism and he's an engine. If he can get up and down and track the guys making the runs back, and if he can do the engine work for Aidan, you have Donny Vaughan, who is back, which is a positive. You have young Mikey Murray, who played midfield. Got biggest game of his life against Armagh. It didn't go as well as you'd like it, but he's an option. You need athletes. Lee is gone for 4 to 6 weeks, so he's not the option for midfield.
What about Doherty as well? How's Jason Doherty? Jason
is good. Yeah. From what now. I'm not been told direct, but I asked a few questions left and right, and you get I think Jason is good. Yeah. They didn't need to train this week. From a Galway perspective, Comer is back. He played 16 minutes with his club last weekend. His physicality is going to test Mayo, because you have Keith and Brendan Harrison in the full back line, and Chris Barr. Chris picked him up before. In the first 12 minutes, the last time they played last year, Comer was on fire. It kind of came back to a degree where Chris did well. I don't think our back units are playing as good as they should in the last 1 or 2 games, and it's probably because we're not getting the help from our half forward line to a degree, or our midfielders coming back. Matthew Rowan's a major loss for a guy in his first championship season. Yeah. To lose someone and you're going, he's done phenomenally well.
I would say that's kind of unfair on the back players, just for the pure reason that Armagh, like I was watching them last Saturday night, they were beautiful. Just some of the football they've played was sublime, to the point where even those of us who were watching were nearly shocked at how quickly they moved. Like Rian O'Neill in particular, have to be an exceptional full back line to have been on top of them for the whole game.
Yeah, we had 3 markers in the first 28 minutes on Rian O'Neill, and we couldn't handle him.
Yeah, now, he's exceptional.
He is, but you're going, did we allow him too much space? Where was our double? For someone like that, you need to be getting a second and third man focused on who's hot. Whoever's hot, I want someone coming on him immediately once he gets the ball. I want to track him back to say, right, don't allow him get the ball, try and cut off his runs. But from that, you're kind of saying, Armagh were very good. Every team that Mayo play, every single goddamn team that they play, the opposition is very good, because they're allowed play. That is the reality. Whether it's the Durries, whether it's the Armaghs, whether it's the Cavans, whether it's the Tipperaries, whether it's the lesser teams, always play well because they're allowed.
Can we call Armagh a lesser team?
I actually do.
I don't know if that's fair, the way Armagh have come on the last in the championship.
I think Armagh are the best team that Mayo have beaten in the qualifier run over the last 4 years.
I think so, yeah. I think Armagh were at a different level.
But then Galway would also be the best team. Like I think this is the toughest qualifier run that Mayo have had to go on, like if you include 2016 and 17.
You know what? If you look at what's ahead of you too, you're going to yourself, both teams. Like it's getting back on the bike from a Galway perspective, and it's trying to keep the bike on the road from a Mayo perspective, because that is a long journey, and you're taking a lot of, I am being disingenuous to Armagh. I don't think Armagh they've won 1 championship game in most of this year.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, if I was from Mayo perspective, I'd be saying we played and managed to beat a really good team last Saturday night. That's going to stand to them much more than the other nearly ones they've had, or the near losses. This was a really good one for Mayo to win, albeit, and people will say this is a bitter Galwegian. Let's not forget that the Mayo goal came from 11 steps. But that's neither here nor there.
I wouldn't say 11, 10.
10 steps. Mayo won't mind. No, they're through and whatever, and the play was great, and the build up to it was fantastic, and the finish was amazing. That's neither here nor there. But if little fine margins, that was the difference. Or like you said, when Cillian O'Connor had that free, that was his opportunity, and to go messing about and then to move the ball in front of the goal, that gave Mayo, I think, maybe the gate into the next round of the qualifiers. I think
the width of the crossbar when Johnny Heaney was playing the last game in the National League. If it had went under the bar an inch lower, Mayo weren't in the National League final.
Yeah,
it went over the bar, and it made that on points difference Mayo were. And there's the National League. There's no one holding on to the coattails of a National League win now. It's got, and the one thing that has happened time and time again, and look at, we don't hate each other. We hate losing against each other. That's an important fact. But there has been a bite and a niggle over the last couple of years where Keith Higgins, Diarmuid O'Connor has just, for not even a moment of madness, you can't do it. And that, look at that niggle will be there, but the stakes are I think, a lot higher tomorrow. So guys won't be stepping across that line or even thinking about it. But there'll be no love lost.
It's 7 consecutive wins for Galway in this fixture, which is an incredible stat. They have to do something different here, Mayo, tomorrow.
It's too late to do something different, really. You have to mix it about and say, right, are we looking for maybe a more direct? Darren Cohen is on fire. So you say to yourself, whoever is hot, feed him.
David, why has he not been involved? He was 27, I think, now, Darren Cohen. Why has he been left aside for the last, 4 or 5 years, really?
From my perspective, if you're coming in as a Mayo manager and you're after reaching 4 Ireland finals in 6 years around, you're going, have you got the cards, have you got the latitude to say, I'm going to change things around? It's hard to say, well, these guys got to an Ireland final and then Stephen Ratcheting comes in the following year. It's not really broken. But
you would argue the fact you didn't win shows something wasn't working.
But do you change the whole recipe then to create?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. And it's from a manager's point of view, and it was consistent enough from Stephen throughout getting to the All Irelands, and then you go, well, James Horn has come in. He's got that little bit of, he knows the vast majority of the guys. He has been able to shake it up a little bit. I like the fact there's a young guy there called Kieran Treasa, who probably wasn't dominant the last day, but his forward ability is phenomenal. I have to say, pound for pound, he is probably one of our most, the only out-and-out forward we'd have, to a degree, now with Andy and now with Fionn McDonough. But he is capable of great things. You have to introduce something. You have to challenge the guys on the bench. Guys like Kevin McLaughlin was dropped.
Yeah.
Probably for the first time in his career last weekend. And only for him.
But he struggled against Roscommon. He struggled against Down as well, didn't he?
And we haven't seen him in the role where he has been playing deep, sitting in front of his full back line. Will it happen tomorrow? You know what? They have the options, but it's going to come down to just football. It's not going to come down to, it's going to play and simple football. Whoever makes the least mistakes in the last 10 minutes, and Mayo haven't been game smart. People will.
No, they were very game smart in the last few minutes. Last Saturday night.
If you're 4 points up with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah. That was the thing. Mayo should have won handily against Armagh. I know you're saying Armagh were great, they played well, but Mayo, going into the last 10 minutes, it felt once they went 4 points up, that was it. The game was done, and it should have been done in my mind.
Then you become game smart.
Well, I know you were talking about it this week, about that idea of being game smart, about being cynical, about knowing how to manipulate the time that the referee will add on to be able to manipulate situations. The way that Dublin managed to manipulate Mayo when it came down to the very last moments of the All-Ireland in, 2017 at this point. Yeah. That's what good teams do, and it's not a criticism, or it's not necessarily saying this marks, something that we should kind of frown and shake our heads at when it comes to Mayo. Surely you accept that they're able to kind of manipulate things quite well, Mayo.
If they weren't, they shouldn't be at the level they are. And every team in the country has a flip chart, and they go, right, more Treasa, give me 2 examples how we can be cute and smart in the last 10. Kev, give me 3 more.
Yeah.
Let's work it and let's do 5. And let's actually run through them in a game. So us 10 will play them 10. We're smart, you play football. And it's a known in the zone. And if you go back, and we're going back to the place on Saturday night, Limerick, the most game smart team, one of them I ever seen, was Kerry in that final 10 minutes, and they did everything perfect. And Aidan O'Mahony, I remember him, with the Maire Ishka come in, and that's always a great man to get involved in a bring him in at any opportunity, bring him into the pushing and the shoving, so it creates.
The Mayo selector was well involved as well that day.
Who was this?
Well, what's his name?
He was brought into it.
Yeah, just before Mayo Mick inserted himself into the situation.
Mayo Mick is coming back to Limerick tomorrow. And you know what?
In a wig.
No, he's allowed in. He's allowed in. Yeah, the ban is over. You go to 2 Mayo games, you'll have about 200 people around Kevin Kilbane. But tomorrow there'll be 2,500 around Mayo Mick. He's back to where he belongs. The bull will be kept in the cage until the final whistle.
He is a legend of Limerick, and we want to go to another legend of Limerick now. We will get your prediction in just a moment. Dermot Whelan of Dermot and Dave on Today FM is on the line. How are you, Dermot?
Hey, how's it going, folks? How are you?
All good. So you're enjoying yourself down in Lahinch this week. You played the Pro-Am.
I did. Unbelievable experience. It was like, I have been saying it is possibly the greatest day of my life. Just from start to finish. I mean, we started off on the driving range, and it was just a great moment where Louis Oosthuizen is just absolutely just hitting these unbelievable shots, just practicing his irons. And then there's some other lad who's playing in the Pro-Am like me beside him, shanking everything beside him as all the crowds are watching it. And then he just sort of picked up his club and sneaked off. And so just to be down on the range first and then getting onto the course, I teed off. We started, because it was a shotgun, I started on 16. And I didn't hit a great shot, the first shot, because of the nerves, you know. And I was playing with Ruby Walsh, and he goes, "Look, would you relax, will you? You're too nervous, you know. Just you're either going to hit it or you're going to miss it. That's it, okay? You've nothing else to worry about. Just that's it." Which was ironic, because a few holes later, Ruby had a fresh air. So, but it was an unbelievable day, and just to be out there on the course and strolling along the fairways, and the course is just immaculate. And I've never played in front of crowds before, so it was unreal.
How does Ruby Walsh react when he hits a fresh air? Is he an angry golfer?
There was a kind of a moment of shock, and then he went, "Does that count? Does it?" So, everybody was like, "Yeah, it does, I'm afraid, yeah." But so I was playing with Trevor Immelman, who of course won the Masters back in 2008, and lovely chap. And just to walk down the fairway with him, getting firsthand what it was like to walk down the 18th of the Masters. And I had, you know, I remember I remember him playing it, and I remember after he hit his 18th drive up that narrow fairway, he just did a big sort of, you know, big exhale. So I was chatting to him about that, and just to hear the stories firsthand, you know, of a guy who put on the green jacket was amazing.
Who else were you playing with this week, Dermot?
I was playing with a chap called Brendan Lawler, and he was just, what a phenomenal guy. He's 22. He only started playing golf 6 years ago. He's a scratch golfer. He plays out of Dundalk. And he was born with a condition which means that his legs and arms are shorter than able-bodied people, and his fingers are a little bit underdeveloped. But he is a phenomenal golfer. He shot 6 under. Most of his golfing career, he has played able-bodied golf, but he's also on the disability tour. And he won the Czech Open. He's 3rd in the world on the disability tour. And what an absolutely phenomenal golfer. I mean, he gave Immelman a lesson that day. But he's just a lovely chap. His brother Liam was caddying for him. But I've never actually played with anyone that good at golf. I've never seen anyone play that well. He's 4 foot tall. He hits the ball 330 or 40 yards, and they're regular length clubs. But he just coils up like a spring. It's unbelievable to watch. Lovely guy.
That's class. Just on Trevor Immelman, who you're obviously playing with, would you say you were a good luck charm for Trevor Immelman in terms of his round yesterday?
I don't know what happened. Maybe some of my golf rubbed off on him, but I think he's officially in last place at the moment. So it just goes to show you, like, here's a guy who won the Masters. It just goes to show you how well Padraig Harrington is playing. You know, obviously Padraig knows the track very well. I don't think he actually ever won the South of Ireland here. So maybe he's got some demons to exercise, but it's great to see the crowds following Padraig. He's literally getting rounds of applause just walking down the fairway. So, and that was only yesterday. So if he manages to keep up there, I would say with the crowds over the weekend, it's just going to be an unbelievable atmosphere, you know, because you really, when you're playing with these guys, when the tee boxes are so far back, you know, I'm a member here, so I'm obviously know the course pretty well, but when you see where these guys are hitting balls from, I mean, they're playing off tee boxes that some of them didn't exist before, because they're just so, the amount of carry they have to, you know, they have to reach before they hit some fairway grass. It's unbelievable just how far these guys hit the ball.
So you guys are doing the show down there all week?
Yeah, we got our final one today, and then I've got my brothers coming down, over from Italy, another lad from Dublin. So we'll be I'll be off the clock after 12 o'clock. But we've had the nice thing about the Pro-Am is that, you know yourselves, there's a lot of famous names from outside of golf knocking around. So we had the brilliant Paul O'Connell on the show, chatting to him. He's an absolute golf nut. You know, when he was younger, he played off, I think it was 4. So he's just mad into the golf. We had Ruby, of course, himself on the show as well. And just all these guys knocking around. You see AP McCoy and JP, and Shane Byrne is another man who loves this golf. So it's just great to be down. I had a very interesting chat actually with one of the head nutritionist who actually works with Harlequins. He's worked with Team Wiggins as well in the cycling. Lovely, an Irish guy living in London. Actually plays left wing back for London GAA. David Dunn. He's a brother of Paul Dunn, the pro golfer. Really fascinating guy. Was talking to us about just what the golfers need to eat and just how key nutrition is these days for them. But he said that a lot of them don't come near him, but they do have a truck that just opens out like a kid's toy, and it's a full gym setup in there. And a lot of them would be very keen on the nutrition side of it. So I was asking him, well, was the half a ham sandwich I had between running from my radio show to the practice fairway, was that key nutrition in the golf performance? But he was laughing, going, "No, you should have really come to me before that." But you know, these guys take it very, very seriously now, especially the young wave. The guys, they're all about nutrition and particularly mental performance and what they should be putting into their bodies to make their brains function at peak performance while they're out on the course. Because it's a long day. Like, I didn't realise how slow it could be. And I was on my tee box just before 1 o'clock, and I came off the course at 7. So I was out there for a full 6 hours. So it's a long day, and it's a long time to try and keep your concentration, you know, for these guys. And I can only imagine what it's like. Whose fault is
that, Dermot? Is that your fault? Are you a slow player?
I'm going to blame Ruby Walsh, because he'd probably blame me. So, but no, just the nature of it. It just is one of those things that just there's so much going on the course, and I suppose even more so in a Pro-Am because it's a shotgun start. You know, there's 18 4-balls in the morning and 18 in the afternoon. So there's a lot of people to get through, and even with the scramble format where you're picking up your ball, if you've no chance of a birdie, it still takes a while, you know.
What are you playing off, Dermot? Actually, I forgot to ask.
I'm off 10.
Not bad.
Yeah,
Is that a high 10 or a low 10?
I think it's a reasonably fair 10, in fairness. But you definitely feel like you're playing better in a scramble format of a Pro-Am, because everyone is hitting their, you just pick the best drive and you hit your second from there, and then you finish the rest of the hole with your own ball. So you can feel great when, you're hitting your second off a 350-yard drive that Brendan Lawler has hit, so it makes everybody feel good. But after a dodgy first hole, I did birdie the next of the second hole. So I had a few birdies, which was great. And sinking a large putt in front of a crowd is just the best feeling. You get such a buzz off it. And I think I hit one drive about 330 yards, which I've never done in my life, and it's just sheer adrenaline. You always hear these guys on the final day of the Masters just over clubbing and putting a ball over the back of a green, and you can understand why, because just adrenaline definitely does add certainly 30 yards onto my drives, that's for sure.
All right, good stuff, Dermot. So Dermot and Dave, live on Today FM, and also the brand new Go Loud app from 9 a.m. this morning. What's coming up?
Who we got on the show today? Good question.
I'd say I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and say you've got Aidan Garrahy and Danny O'Reilly.
That's right, Danny
Yes,
from the
what a
Crosses,
guess.
and Aidan. That's
surprises.
That's it.
Sounds like a great show, Dermot.
I think, Kevin Kilbane has got his ice cream van down here as well, All right, Kev.
How are you doing? All good?
Oh, good, man. Well, we're selling all. We've got all the screw balls. We've got the chuck ices. The ice cream van's back. It's back right outside the club. That's fantastic. Oh, it's dead good. The golfers love a bit of ice cream. Up Mayo.
I'm feeling very outnumbered here.
It's Kevin Kilbane's ice cream van. Have you never got an ice cream from it?
God. What ice cream would you like, Kev?
Oh, Super Split.
Oh, Super Split classic, yeah. It's a bit like Roy Keane, It's a classic, very reliable, but it's going to have a complete meltdown.
Dermot Whelan of Dermot and Dave. Thanks, William, for taking the call this morning.
David, can I just say, were you only coming on this morning just to do that? Tommy must have said to you, you have to do it. Jesus.
No, he didn't say anything, but yes, it was the only reason I came.
Good stuff, Dermot. We'll chat to you soon.
Listen, Top, I'm a great fan of the show, lads, so thanks a million.
Cheers, Dermot. We didn't get your prediction for Mayo Galway. Moving swiftly on to GAA once again. What are you thinking, David? I presume you're
Galway.
You think Galway are going to win? You think Galway are going to win?
It's Galway are favourites, definitely.
Oh, that's not what you think,
What do you think is going to happen?
That's not what you think, though. What do you think?
Overwhelming favourites.
Honestly, I'm edging towards Galway.
I don't recall you predicting Galway over Mayo in a long time.
Look at the amount of injuries. The guys, there's 5 starters out.
Yeah.
It is a major ask for Mayo, from a Mayo perspective. Not alone is there 5 starters out, but there's like 2 or 3 of their main players only coming back. That's half your team that you're versus there's injuries in the Galway side. Okay, yeah, my heart will say definitely Mayo. And this whole thing about guts and balls and determination, it still comes down to football. But I'm saying this is as big as a task has been handed to any Mayo team in a long time, because their backs are to the wall. Maura?
For the women, I'm going for Galway, just for the pure reason I think they're a year ahead of the Mayo ladies. And after all the crack of last year and everything, I just think they survived the scare 2 weeks ago. The women should do it. And the men, when I was here a few weeks ago before the Connacht final, no one asked me who'd win, and I said I thought Roscommon would win. I just felt there was something there. The difference is now that I and nobody else knows what Galway are like right now, because that second half display against Roscommon, we cannot say that is Galway. So we don't know where they are. But cheapers. I just think Mayo will do it.
Okay,
you're like me, you're an old plumoser.
No, I'm not plumossing. I just think the reason I think Mayo will do it is that they just have more experience of these tight corners than this Galway team.
You can only run into the corner so many times and you realise.
I know, but
there's no way out.
They just have the rub of the green a lot of the times. They do.
No chance.
They've gotten to the All-Ireland final how many years because of the rub of the green?
You're calling Galway as well?
Well, they're overwhelming favourites.
Overwhelming
favourites.
Yeah.
Well, the odds won't say that.
Yeah,
but if you look at the teams and if you look at Mayo's injury crisis, it's nothing but a crisis.
It is.
That Galway are overwhelming favourites for this game. And I'm not just saying because David's in. I'm not saying because David's in. What he's saying there is, if Mayo win the game, it will be an unbelievable achievement if they win this game.
I'm telling you now, and it's not to say it's to exactly where they are and where they have been blow after blow after blow. Like there's in the reality terms, there should be no way.
Mayo are favourites.
What is the spread?
1.
See,
Mayo -1.
Mayo -1.
They see that's not right. That's skewed. That's Galway on the spread are a great bet. They are a great bet.
You don't know what type of Galway team is going to turn up, except when they play Mayo. That is a constant, and always has been a constant, and is a constant with their manager and Kevin Walsh and with their players.
But if you were to look at it in black and white terms, in performance over the championship so far and the league, You would have to go for Mayo.
We're going to have to leave that there. I just want to get one word answers on the other 3 games. Tyrone, Cavan, Clare Laois and Meath Clare. Who's going through to the Super 8s alongside Galway?
Tyrone. I'd love to see Clare. I would love.
I fancy Clare. I think
Colin Collins has done a phenomenal job. Last game then is.
Sorry, I said
Cork and Laois.
Sorry, I said Clare twice there. It's Cork Laois.
Yeah, Cork Laois. Cork. Yeah, it'd be good to see Cork in the Super 8s. Look, good to see Laois as well, but it'd be good to see them back and getting that lift. But I do think it's great to have Meath or Clare going to be in the Super 8s. Great for in the next few years developing and the experience it gets. But this is a great weekend, and I can't. Minors tonight, Galway Mayo 7:30 in Tuam. Tomorrow evening 7 o'clock, and Sunday we'll go to Mass and thank God then. For the right result. Fair play to you.
David, thanks a million for coming in. Enjoy tomorrow, and I hope you manage to stay good friends with all your fellow Galway folk.
We you know what? Everyone likes
Galway folk.
Did you ever make friends back with the Gweedore folk?
Huh?
Did you ever make friends with Gweedore?
Jesus. This year's Billy Joe Padden and Aidan O'Shea. On Aidan O'Shea.
Billy Joe, you're risking him on Saturday?
Yes, of course, he has to play. Unless now it's physically impossible for him, but even if he's carrying an injury, carrying a knock of some sort, he has to play, because I don't think Mayo can win the game without him. A minute ago we were talking about physicality and being aggressive and winning possession around the middle of the field, and Mayo can't do that without Aidan O'Shea. So unless he's in a situation where he can't play any minutes at all, well, then you have to play him, and I think he's aware of that. I think the other players in the team are aware of that, and I'm sure Galway are aware of that. So I expect him to play, and it's the risk you have to take, and I suppose it's the difficulties that you find yourself in when you don't win a Connacht championship, and you have to run that roulette of playing week after week in the qualifiers. And really, the injuries are adding up for Mayo. And when you look at it at the 2 teams, and I know that there's been talk about some Galway players. Or Galway having injury problems as well. You would expect Galway to go in as the fancied side, considering all the players that Mayo are missing.
Joe Padden speaking to Richie in the aftermath of Aidan O'Shea's injury news. It's a big worry for Mayo this week, the fact that he may have left the game last week in a boot. Was that a precaution? I guess we'll know when the Mayo team comes out this week. He thinks Aidan O'Shea should be risked. David Brady here thinks Aidan O'Shea should be risked, but it's not a gamble at all. He says you can get all our GAA content back on youtube.com/offtheball, or check out the GAA on Off the Ball podcast stream. We're turning our attention to transfers, and it's been one hell of a silly season so far, Kevin, hasn't it? It's been quite a few stories. And
just look at what Real Madrid have spent. It's just phenomenal what they've spent across this summer. So
yeah, we might get into them in just a moment, but we want to start with Manchester United and get a mid-window report on Manchester United from you. Daniel James and Aaron Wan-Bissaka have come in. 2 good signings, it looks like. Herrera and Valencia out. In terms of the net gain for Manchester United so far this summer, what are we looking at?
I was on a few weeks ago, just as the season finished, actually. We were talking about Wan-Bissaka. He was going to move. We spoke about him going to United. He'll improve Man United. I've heard the suggestion here, if anyone's watched Wan-Bissaka over the last few years, I think his downfall, and that's what maybe goes against him in terms of playing under 21 level for England and national level. Although he is a natural winger, that's where he started out. I don't think his greatest attribute is on the ball. He's a runner. He's brilliant one-on-one defender. He's one of the best one-on-one fullbacks in the Premier League over the last season. So you look at him like that in terms of United are going to be under pressure the way that they play. They've not necessarily got the most expansive team, so they're going to have to sit in games, and he's going to have to do his job one-on-one, and there's no one better for that, I don't think. I think he has to improve on his attacking game. That's where I think he seriously needs to improve, and he'd probably get better with the players that surround him, but it's a good signing. Very, very good signing. Daniel James, another one, you say... It's about him, progression for him. He's not necessarily going to go in and be a regular first teamer. I don't think to start with, it wouldn't seem that way to me. It's a signing for United with the future in mind. So I don't know. I think where they are, Man United at the moment, they're still way behind. They're still 5th or 6th, 4th at best. That's where they are, and that's the reality of Man United now.
Should they be a little bit more ambitious this window?
Who's he going to get? if you're one of the top players around world football at the moment, and you've got Man City, and you've got Liverpool, you've got Real Madrid, Barcelona, that's the calibre of clubs that they're competing with. Are you going to go to Man United ahead of those teams? And no, you're not going to do that, are you? That's not going to happen.
When we talk about ambition, does paying £90 million for Harry Maguire represent ambition or a bit of naivety?
It's the reality, isn't it? It's the reality.
Right.
It's the reality of what United. I heard you lads on the other week. It's a premium. You're Man United. It's a premium. There's an extra 10, 15
It's
million.
a tax on Manchester United.
It is a tax, and that's the way that it is. They can afford it. It's not a problem to them. The figures are crazy. We know that we're all the way we all are. 50 million, for whatever it is, for Wan-Bissaka is crazy. It's crazy money, but that's the reality, and that's where they are. So United need, I would say, 2 centre-halves, and sign Harry Maguire is a step forward for them.
Yeah, forget the price tag. He would be a good fit. He would improve that defence immediately.
Definitely.
In a position that they need. Like we talk about a couple of the other signings, and we've been going through this all window so far.
I've listened to you, yeah.
There's been so many names linked with Manchester United, but 2 of them that have kind of been linked on a more solid foundation. One of them really is Sean Longstaff, which is seems like that is a real link.
Well, Newcastle are a selling club. If any sort of offer goes into Newcastle, they'll let him go. So that will be done if they can just agree a fee.
Then the other one has been Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. Well, again, they've been linked. Who was the other name that I saw yesterday as well? I saw another name as well, Owen, linked with him. Again, they're not necessarily names. If we're talking in terms of what the business Real Madrid have done, the business that City have done and probably will do, they're not names at that level, but they're going to make Man United better. Look what Man United are. Man United are, as I was saying, they're a 5th and 6th place team. That's where they are. We expect them to be a top 1 or 2.
If you're the money man in Man United and you're trying to bring the names in, and you have to go with this acceptance, like you said, you're 4th or 5th place behind all these. How do you sell United to these players, or can you, or do you have to accept this is the way it's going to be for a few years, and these newer,
I think you have to
younger signings, and just accept that they're going to be the future, and they'll bring in the names in a year or 2?
We're talking about the names. I don't think Man United need to be going out and saying, as they were 2 or 3 seasons ago, we'll go and sign Paul Pogba, because it has gone wrong for United. He's obviously a problem in the dressing room. So if you're signing a name that's going into that dressing room and the team aren't playing to a standard that they're expecting, it's going to be a problem for United. So I think they are doing it right. I think they have to maybe go down to the next tier and bring in players that's going to make the team better. Because United haven't been a team, then they're not a team. The way that I've seen it over the last couple of seasons, it hasn't been right, and that's where they need to improve, I feel, off that. So maybe it's not necessarily going out and signing a huge name. If they're competing, they'll be able to compete because United can pay more money than Man City and even Liverpool. But the player themselves are not necessarily going to go there for financial reasons.
People will argue that the last thing Manchester United need is another season of dealing with Paul Pogba. But one thing that we can all agree that they definitely don't need is this transfer saga rumbling on all summer, and then he leaves at the end of the window.
Yeah, I'd let him go now.
He's going to Australia. Like, he's going with the team. It's
clearly not working. So it's not working for him. It's not working for United. So we've been talking Juve, Real Madrid across the course of the last few months. I'd always been in favour. Tottenham's business. That's why when they signed on Dembele, I was so surprised, because Tottenham don't do that. Tottenham wait till the last couple of weeks of the season. Daniel Levy's strategy has always been, we'll keep the club hanging, we'll let them go. So that was a surprising thing about Spurs doing that deal. I'd always be in favour of getting your players in prior to pre-season, get them ingrained in what the club's all about, get them ingrained with the way the team's going to play. It's always best. It's better for a player, because when it runs across the summer, you're chasing your tail then when the season starts, because you're not up to speed, you're maybe not fully fit because you've not been focusing properly when you've been at the previous club. So if I was United, I'd let him go. I'd let him go now, get the deal done.
A couple of the other loose parts around Manchester United at the moment: Romelu Lukaku, Alexis Sanchez and Juan Mata.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on all of them? I know it's a big question on 3 different players.
Personally, I know a lot of people don't agree that. I've got Lukaku first. Lukaku, again, it's another one, clearly hasn't worked. United overpaid for him when he went in there. Everton it was a great deal for them. If it is 100 million, I think it was 75 up front, but it's a potential 100 million pound deal as well. That he's got to go. I think he has to go. It's not worked. Rashford signed his new deal this week. I've heard things said about Rashford. Rashford is could be one of the very best, but he's playing in a side that don't play the type of football that's going to suit him.
Is that stunting his progression, I wonder?
I think Jose Mourinho and the way that United have played has stunted his progression. I know that if we look in terms of, and we spoke about in the past, in terms of him up against Raheem Sterling 2 seasons ago, we'd have all picked Rashford because of where he could go, and now it's like polar opposites, and that's been down to how United have been. So Can he get to the form or the levels that we expect him to? I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe gone beyond it now, and that's what can happen. It can change so quickly in the professional game. But Rashford is going to be the main United striker now, and Lukaku has to go. He has to go. Yeah.
And then the Sanchez problem, the weight around the neck.
Well, it's not going to happen, is it? Unless United give him 30, 40 million quid, he's not going to go because they're going to have to pay to get him off the books. What is it, 20 million a year, I think he's on, something around that. It's farcical what's happened. It's not, again, it's another one that hasn't worked for United, so they have to try and manoeuvre a way to get him out, and that's the only way that I see that one playing out.
And then they obviously got Mata to put pen on paper, which it's hard to know how to actually kind of look at that one, because if he's a free agent, any other club, you're like, that'd be a good signing.
Yeah.
Whereas with Manchester United signing a player they already have, it kind of shows a bit of, or it is perceived as a bit of staleness. I actually don't think it is. I think it's like, if he's on the market.
I wouldn't have done it. Personally, I wouldn't have done it. He's a quality footballer, but the way that the game has gone, when it's the way that Chelsea built the team around him, particularly when Rafa Benitez was there, he had a free role and the team was built around him. He was basically, he doesn't have the legs, he can't run. So you have to almost get runners around him. United can't have that luxury now. So when he's played on the right-hand side or the left-hand side or even central position for United, he's been a passenger. That's the way it has been with him. So I wouldn't have done that deal, no.
Right, so you're Ed Woodward, checkbook, blank, pen in hand. What number are you putting down, and who are you handing it to for which player? You can buy anybody within reason.
What Treasa was saying before, how are you going to entice them? First of all, United are not. They're not a particularly attractive option for the big names around. Who are you going to sign? I've heard Rakitic mentioned. Would you go out and just say, get him? He's 30 odd, whatever it would be, but he's an experienced player that have done it. United probably need a couple of experienced heads that are good pros that are going to actually get hold of that dressing room a little bit, and they need an element of youth around that as well. So there's a few names that you could probably throw about, but they're not going to be able to go out and entice a really big, attractive young player or attractive proposition of a young player at 24, 25. It's simply not going to happen for United, no.
Could they entice Gareth Bale?
I love Bale. It might have gone beyond it now, but if they can get a loan deal in place for Bale, wages won't be an issue. If they can get a loan deal in place for Bale, yeah, I think that'd be a brilliant signing. If they can get him back, the injury problems are obviously, that's got to be a worry for them.
Why don't Manchester United look for Ivan Perisic in a trade for Romelu Lukaku?
Perisic was on the deal. It was on the cards last summer, wasn't it? Prior and after the World Cup, it never happened. You could see it happening. Perisic is again. It looks to me with him. I think he's a workhorse. I think he's a sort of the right character they probably need in that dressing room. I obviously don't know him, but he seems to be the sort of player that United could and perhaps should sign. And it seems logical that you could actually do a deal by letting Lukaku go and getting Perisic in, yeah.
He's 30 years old at this point. That wraps up Manchester United. We're going to do a few quick fire ones just to conclude. Deal or no deal today. Zaha good enough to transform Arsenal?
I would say no, because I think they need so much more than just Zaha. They have.
Should they sign him? And what should they pay?
Exactly. Are you going to get him for 40 million? You're probably not going to get him for 40
million.
You
would take him for 40 million?
Yeah.
Would you pay 80 million for Zaha?
No, I wouldn't.
Fair enough. Marcelo. He's been linked with a move to Arsenal. Deal or no deal? What are you paying?
Well, it's a deal that if they got the deal, it would be a good deal for them. What they're paying, I don't know. What's the figure that's being quoted for him at the moment?
Well, he's been asked to leave, or he is asking to leave Real Madrid according to reports. So you would get him at a good enough price, you'd imagine.
The right sort of character going into there. Do you know what? I probably think he's not the player that they need. He'd make them better if they get two or three others around him, but is he too big a personality? Arsenal, over the years, Arsenal's biggest downfall under Wenger was the character that they had in that club, and I don't think he's probably the sort of character that's going to enhance that team now.
This is an interesting one. The odds of Ousmane Dembele going to Liverpool have been slashed in France. Do you see it happening? Where should Liverpool be looking to strengthen
leave
if they win the league?
Liverpool always
want to win the league.
Always sign pace. Always sign pace. The way that they play, it's built on pace. It'd be perfect for Liverpool. How Liverpool play, I think Klopp could get the best out of him. Get the best out of anybody. So, fee wise, it'd be over 100 million, wouldn't it? Is he worth that? Barcelona overpaid for him anyway. Way overpaid for him, and it hasn't worked out the way that they would have liked. But it certainly fit Liverpool. It's the perfect play for Liverpool. Yeah.
Finally, then Griezmann. potentially to the Camp Nou? Is he a good
that's
fit?
done. It's a done deal, isn't it? And that's been done, it seems like, for such a long time. I was surprised he signed a new contract last summer. By all accounts, he's having to take a massive pay cut to go there because Atletico offered him an unbelievable deal last summer when he signed. So, it's done. It'll be done, and I can see him fitting into what Barcelona need. Him, Suarez, Messi. I think it will make Barcelona a brilliant attacking team again. They probably need to strengthen in other areas. That's what Barcelona probably need.
Good stuff, Kev. Thank you for joining us on Deal or No Deal this morning. It's been a pleasure to have you in talking transfers and the silly season. We love the silly season here on OTBAM, and you can watch back all our transfer coverage as well on youtube.com/off the ball. We are turning our attention to matters on the pitch though, because it is the United States against the Netherlands in the World Cup final on Sunday, and Rebecca Myers, journalist with the Sunday Times, is on the line. Good morning to you, Rebecca.
Good morning, hi.
Very well. How are you?
Good, thank you, very good.
So, Danielle van de Donk, this is the interesting quote that I've seen this week. She says, "I don't think they think we're that good." Did the United States underestimate the Netherlands going into Sunday's final?
I would be surprised, if they didn't have an element of maybe they've won this already. I think obviously they've faced, to be fair to them, they faced France in the quarterfinals and us in the semi-finals, two teams who they considered the favourites by a long way. So there is every chance that they're looking at the Netherlands going, well, job done at this stage. They'd be fools to do so, I think, and that could well be their undoing. But I think Danielle van der Donk has a great point in that they're probably certainly not looking at them, maybe in the way that they were looking at France and England.
Is some of this to do with the fact that the Dutch have risen so quickly? Of course, they're European champions, but this is their second consecutive major final, of course, as a result of the Euros a couple of years ago. But this is only their second World Cup. Their domestic league in women's football was only established in 2007, so they don't have the same rich heritage that the United States have.
Yeah, exactly. And they also don't have the same kind of, even though England obviously haven't necessarily achieved as much on paper success now as the Dutch. I think we've got a little bit more of an aura to our team than the Dutch have built up. We've been very upfront in this tournament about saying, we're gonna win the World Cup, whereas the Dutch haven't really been doing that as much. They're a bit more of an unknown. And like you said, they've just risen so fast. I think people have been quite taken aback by how well they've done. So the US are just one of those groups who are looking at this team thinking, wow, maybe we did not expect to face these guys in the final.
No, at the same time, though, I guess the arrogance is a hallmark of this United States team. It is how they manage to channel their best selves into their best form or performances. I mean, the exponent of that may be something like tea drinking celebrations or shouting at your opponent in the mix zone after a game, and maybe people find that distasteful, particularly the mix zone thing. But ultimately, the arrogant form of the United States team is the best form of the United States team when it comes to results.
Yeah, I mean, it's catch-22, right? Because they have every reason to be arrogant. There's no reason to suggest that they're being above their station because they're winning. But also, I think particularly for the Brits, we find it a little bit odd. We're not so sure about all this, tea drinking. It's very unusual for us to see. But I think a lot of people who, especially kind of fans of the men's game who are coming across to women's football, are sort of saying, well, you want these characters. You want these sort of slightly arrogant, slightly cocky sort of tea drinking, taking the mick. That's football. You want those characters and those sort of slightly outrageous moments. And I think that there's merit in that as well, as much as I have to say it wasn't my favourite celebration.
There's going to be question marks around Megan Rapinoe going into Sunday's final, and Rose Lavelle as well. I think she's struggling with a hamstring injury too. That will surely give the Dutch a huge amount of hope, looking at these two huge stalwarts for the United States potentially absent. Have you got a sense at all whether or not the two of them are going to start or not, or feature at all?
Yeah, it's very hard to read at this stage. I mean, I have, first and foremost, I'd say I looked at the starting list the other day at the match and saw that Megan Rapinoe wasn't on it, and turned around to my colleague and said, we're going to win the World Cup. Didn't quite work out like that. So I think Megan Rapinoe, although she is this extraordinary footballer and an extraordinary person, they have players who can fill her position. She's not... it's not the case, I think, if you took Steph Houghton out of our team, things would start to crumble. Things don't crumble without Megan. Rose Lavelle, on the other hand, although she's a bit of an unknown quantity for a lot of opposition teams, I think she is much more the kind of player that you remove and things start to fall away around her. She's very much a playmaker. She's incredibly talented. So without her, I think things could get quite interesting for the Dutch.
Yeah, for sure. That is a much bigger loss than I think people realise this weekend. Like, one of the elements when it comes to the legacy of this World Cup, when it comes to the profile that this World Cup has given to the game, one of the things we can point to Sunday's game on a real positive level is the fact that we've got 2 women coaches on the sideline. Quite often it's pointed to the team saying, well, there's a man leading the team, and does it actually, what does it actually do for women coaches who actually want to make it? This sends a very, very positive message, doesn't it?
It's incredible, yeah. And we had, at the start of the tournament, last World Cup, there were 8 female coaches out of 24. This World Cup, there were 9. So it didn't exactly look like, great and wonderful progress. But as we've got further and further through the knockout rounds, the women have gone up to sort of, from a third to a half of those represented, from a half to now, the 100% of the coaches left of the tournament. I think that says an awful lot about being a female coach in the women's game. I spoke to Emma Hayes, the Chelsea coach, who's been doing a column for us this World Cup about this. And she said, obviously there's the argument that maybe you have to be twice as good to get this far as a woman. I think that's very, very valid. But also she said, we don't really know, how important it is to be a woman or to coach women the right way, because we've not really done any research into it. Research, generally speaking, is done into the men's game, into male players, into how they react to stuff. We don't yet really know what the edge you might have if you're a female coach in the women's game, what you might be bringing to that. And we're obviously seeing that it's working.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the idea then for the sport, I guess, is how do we double down on what's happened over the last couple of weeks, because it's been a brilliant World Cup. The controversy has only created the theatre around the World Cup. It's hard to pick too many negatives around it whatsoever. The question, though, I think you've alluded to this to yourself in a few of your pieces, is how does the sport itself double down on this?
Yeah, and I mean, even just yesterday was quite a wake-up call for me, because Gilly Flaherty, who's a former England player and captain of West Ham, which is, a fully professional team now, just tweeted saying, guys, I've not got any boots for the season. I've not got a boot sponsor. I've not got a kit sponsor. And you saw in her replies, some people tweeting back sort of saying, well, are you joking? Like, is this are you just sort of having some kind of laugh about this? And she was like, no, I'm completely serious. And I think I retweeted that just because I think people don't realise the sort of level that a lot of the women's game is at. This is fantastic. This has been amazing. It has been game changing. And I do think we'll look back at it as a tipping point. But unless we work properly and seriously on major issues like that, basic issues like that, and grassroots issues, then, we've got ages until we're going to achieve anything resembling equality.
Rebecca, there's been talk over the last few days about the Premier League taking over the WSL over in England. Do you think that's a positive move? They talk about TV deals or TV rights deals for women's football as well, and the counter argument would be make it more visible, keep it on terrestrial TV. So how do you think that would be about progression for the women's game as well?
It's a really difficult one, and I think, to be honest, I sort of think that what is going to happen will happen, and obviously once the ball gets rolling in these things, they can move suddenly quite quickly. I think the main thing is that TV rights of some kind are secured. So historically, the Women's League, the tender that is kind of currently coming to an end, the rights were essentially given away for free. The arrangement was that the broadcasters, which was BBC and BT, would pay production costs, but nothing else. So the rights are kind of gifted in a way. That's fine to get it out there, but actually it's not turning a profit, and it means that there's this unsustainable model where the women's teams have to kind of rely on the money from the men's teams. We can't have that going forward, because it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for the women or the men. It doesn't work for the clubs, and it will, I think, jeopardise the future of the league. So in some ways, I'm of the opinion that whichever way we secure those TV rights will be the right way, as long as it's done, as long as there's money changing hands. That maybe is the most important thing at this stage, and we possibly can't be too choosy.
Is it a positive move, though, that the Premier League do take over running of the women's game, though?
Yes and no. It adds weight. I think it's not dissimilar to the way we talk about the example I always give is of the Champions League game, where you had the PSG fans with knuckle dusters. Not saying the Premier League fans with knuckle dusters, but there's an element of traditional bastions of the men's game coming into the women's game, or organisations like the Premier League getting involved. There will be negatives, and there will be things that people who have long loved the women's game will not like about that. But it adds huge weight to say that the Premier League, invest in the women's game or care about the women's game enough is a huge stepping stone. So I think you can argue both sides, but if it happens, then we need to look at all the positives and embrace that.
Who's going to win on Sunday, Rebecca?
I think, it's hard to argue the Netherlands, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Netherlands win. I think it would be wonderful for European football. I'm biased.
A little bit more humble. That's what it would be, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think also it would be fascinating to see, and I don't necessarily know that the US are going to do this. I think they're probably too smart. But if they did underestimate them, and if they did sort of walk into this final already thinking they'd secured the win, that would be a great story for football. It would be really interesting to watch. Finally, the world champions who've just assumed that the trophy is already on their mantelpiece. Finding out that it's a little bit harder.
Come on, Netherlands, I think it's fair to say. Rebecca, thanks a million for taking the call this morning.
Thanks so much.
Rebecca Maire is journalist with the Sunday Times there on the line. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff on Sunday, the Netherlands against the USA, and it should be a great one. Right, it is 9:08 on this Friday morning, and you're watching OTBAM, the sports breakfast show here from Off the Ball. OTBAM is sponsored by Avantcard, powered by MasterCard. And next, we're talking Kyrgios, Nadal, with Cullen Buhig, because the beef is so real you wouldn't believe. We'll take a quick break.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our brand new field sport covered pitches. Find out more on nationalsportscampus.ie.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
You're welcome back to OTBAM on this Friday morning. It is 9:09 and Cullen Buhig is here.
Hi, lads.
Causing a bit of a stir yesterday, telling us to watch a game between a tennis player called Rafa Nadal and Nick Kyrgios. And lo and behold, it lived up to all the billing.
It was the match of the tournament. I called it here yesterday, 24 hours ago. Myself, Ger, Anthony Miles has said match of the tournament. It had it all. Kyrgios, when he wanted to, was absolutely brilliant. He threw a couple of straps and he did 2 underarm serves, which is what we called. That's ignoring the fact, of course, that I did call that Kyrgios would win in 5 sets.
He got booed by the crowd.
But he loves that. He loves when he gets booed. So I had it all, the pantomime film, but the actual quality of tennis was superb.
Yeah.
And if only he did that a bit more, I mean, that's the whole thing with Kyrgios. That's what we're going to get into. But it was fantastic. It was a great game.
Let's just start with the underhand serve before we get into the press conference stuff.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Why don't crowds love it?
I think it's good, but it seems that his colleagues, his peers, hate it because it seems it's disrespectful. But Nadal stands so far behind the baseline, and it was game point for Kyrgios in this point. He did a 2-5 in the first set. He's so far behind, I'm just going to think it over. And then the little swagger when he does it straight away. He just like down to straight back next game, and Nadal's is there shaking his head. I mean, it's the antithesis of what Nadal stands for. You know, Nadal's pure power and energy and stamina, and Kyrgios' deft touches, and I'll try when I want to. I mean, they wreck each other's heads, and it's absolutely brilliant to watch.
I want to see somebody on championship point do an underhand serve and win a slam like that.
What he does is he calls it before he does it. Before matches, he said, I'm going to do the underarm serve. And he called it yesterday before Nadal, and he actually went and did it. Now, it was a great match, lads. Brilliant game. But at the start, it looked like it was going to be a complete disaster because he was loved 3 down, Kyrgios, in the first few minutes. It got broken in the first game, probably to do with the fact that he was in the pub the night before, past midnight drinking, just to relax himself before the match.
He's my type of man.
So he didn't get going.
Nick Kyrgios.
Didn't get going until the start of the second set.
He could be my favourite ever tennis player, this boy.
He broke Nadal at the start of the second set, and that's when he came alive. That's when he got a fresh head and he started going. But probably the biggest talking point of the match was halfway through the third set. Kyrgios went straight for Nadal's chest with a shot, absolutely smacked it at him. He clearly went straight for him, and I think we should listen to it in the press conference. This was Kyrgios' reaction when it was brought up in the press conference.
How important do you think it is for tennis as a whole to have those kind of rivalries? But do you regret not apologising for hitting him with the ball in the third set?
Why would I apologise?
Well, because that's the convention, isn't it?
Of what?
Of tennis.
Is it?
If you hit someone with the ball.
I didn't hit him. He was racking, no? But why would I apologise? I won the point.
He didn't look too pleased.
And? Well,
But you seem to wind him up, and then he would then win.
I don't care. Why would I apologise? I mean, dude's got how many slams? How much money in the bank account? I think he can take a ball to the chest, bro. I'm not going to apologise to him at all.
Did you aim it straight at him?
Yeah, I actually was going for him, yeah. I wanted to hit him square in the chest. Lucky's got decent hands.
Decent hands, Rafa Nadal. I love that.
That was just one of his go-to plays yesterday, Kyrgios. The other one was when he attacked the umpire, calling him a nobody and you're a disgrace because Kyrgios was unhappy with Rafa's slow play.
Can I just point out that when Serena Williams had a row, she was lambasted, drawn across the coals by everyone for weeks, and when Kyrgios does it, people have a laugh.
Oh, well, no, people were getting stuck into it.
There's a lot of people against it.
They were getting stuck. All the comments online were saying this guy's a disgrace to tennis.
There is a different tone. I just like to point that out.
Well, you should see him in the press conference. I mean, I completely understand that, and actually I agree with a lot of it, but he genuinely doesn't seem to care that much. I mean, at the end of that press conference yesterday, at the end of it, he was just like, well, it's only tennis, so it doesn't matter. It's only a match.
Let's address that very point. Serena Williams, it was said about her at the time that there was an entitlement to her and how she behaved towards
it. What was she do? She had to go to the umpire,
didn't she? The US Open against Naomi Osaka. But I do wonder that if Nick Kyrgios is the symbol that we have, somebody who's rebelling against the establishment in tennis, because the establishment is very important in tennis. Are the bigger players, your Serena Williams, the Rafa Nadals, do they feel more entitled than the rest of them to get the marginal calls, to feel like that they should be treated like kings and queens walking around Wimbledon or whatever arena they're currently in?
I think that's definitely an argument, but I think it's a separate argument. I think Kyrgios stands alone here because the guy goes out of his way not to put effort in as a defence mechanism for not achieving what he's supposed to achieve. The guy's natural talent is outrageous.
That where he's putting his efforts?
Where?
Do you know? Well, that's what I would say. Like you said, the defence mechanism. Maybe Kyrgios, and we don't know who he is. For all we know, maybe he's just this lad who happens to be really good at tennis, but doesn't care that much and is happy to enjoy and create a bit of chaos as he goes along. Sometimes you have wonderful talents who couldn't be bothered.
That was the thing on the screen, actually, her quote that she accused the umpire of sexism and vows to fight for women. I think a lot of people had an issue with that at the time. It wasn't just her tone, it was the fact that she was accusing the umpire of sexism at that point.
I think Serena's point there was, and again, I don't know, obviously I wasn't there, I think her point is, and this discussion illustrates it perfectly, that when Kyrgios does the same thing, we're laughing it off, or as a woman does it,
This was before the discourse around Serena.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying this is in general, this is life in general for women, in that anything a woman says or does, especially if she has a row, if you do anything that's perceived to be anyway outside ladylike, you will be treated more harshly for it.
I agree.
And that was her point.
But that was the reaction to Serena at the time, wasn't it? The way that she was kind of called a maniac or whatever it may have been.
I think that's been the case about Kyrgios. So Kyrgios has had so much stick for such a long time now over his
It's
on-court
not as personal, I feel, though. I feel.
Is it not? I don't know.
No.
I don't know about that.
Put it this way, right? This might back up the point, actually, what you're saying, which is completely true. In the first round, Kyrgios played Jordan Thompson, who's his compatriot. First round game outside court. At the same time, Ash Barty, Australian, women's world #1, reigning French Open champion. Those matches played simultaneously. Channel 7 in Australia opted to play Kyrgios Thompson ahead of Barty, women's world #1 French Open champion. And actually, Kyrgios was asked about that afterwards, and he was like, that's kind of out of my control, but they probably should have shown the other match. So he is box office, for better or for worse. He is box office. People go to watch him on the plane.
I actually forgot the game was on, so I was watching the golf yesterday, and I saw Stephen Doyle tweeted around the game. Immediately I turned over because Kyrgios was on. That's what networks are saying. There's going to be spark with this guy playing. Yeah. So he's now a personality in his own right. So who you're going to watch? It was the same as years ago when McEnroe was playing. You knew there was going to be a spark when McEnroe played, so that's why you want to watch him. That's ultimately why it is. It's nothing to do with. I don't feel as though it's to do with any other gent. I just think he is a personality you actually want to watch playing.
He did also say that's definitely not why I lost in relation to the umpire.
He did, yeah. To give him his credit, he said to have another part of the press conference, he was asked, do you think you'll ever win a Grand Slam? And he says, I'm way, way off that because I don't have the dedication of the other players. I'm just not that professional.
That's what I'm saying. It just seems to me that he just happens to be really good, but not that bothered.
But then someone asked him, basically, are you happy? Are you happy with the way you are? And he was like, yeah, I kind of like the way I am. I kind of like the way I do these things. But the one question in the press conference that he didn't have an answer for, and he had an answer for everything, everything that was thrown at him. One person asked him, Ash Barty, she used to be a bit unfocused and then she committed to it, and look what happened to her. Do you think that will ever happen to you? Do you think you'll ever be focused? And Kyrgios sat there and genuinely thought about the question, and he was like, I don't have an answer for that at the moment, sorry.
Yeah.
But it was very self-reflective,
How old
that
is he?
part.
How old?
24.
Yeah, so
and people were asking him in the press conference, 24, will we see you back at Wimbledon again? He's 24.
Yeah.
But I mean, such are his commitment issues. The furthest he's ever been in a Grand Slam is the quarter-final. And the last time that happened was 4.5 years ago at the Australian Open.
Yeah.
He's won 5 career titles in total.
That reflective side is very encouraging for Kyrgios fans. The idea that he's saying, well, there were sets or games that I didn't try in today in his post-match press conference. And that kind of shows that he's actually realising this. And the first step to actually addressing it is realising that it exists. So hopefully encouraging times, because I like him around the game. That was great. Colin Buhig, thanks very much for popping in. We are going to go straight to Lahinch, I think, because it's all going down there. John, what's happening?
Yeah, a bit of an ordinary start for Padraig Harrington, Owen and everybody else. 6 under par, put his tee shot on the opening hole into the left rough, overshot the green, and had a par putt from about 10 feet, and he missed that. So back to 6 under, par the second hole, Padraig. So now tied for the lead with Xander Lombard of South Africa, who's out just after 10 o'clock. Cloudy start this morning, bit of drizzle. Not that big a breeze, but a kind of a slightly stronger breeze than yesterday, but nothing the players can't handle. But it is kind of a cloudy, not the blazing sunshine we had yesterday. And there is expected to be winds of maybe, say, between 10 and 15 miles an hour in the afternoon. The front nine is harder than the back nine here. Front nine is a bit quirky and a bit tricky. So I think for players it's about getting through the front nine and then maybe trying to make some hay on the back nine with the 2 par 5s. John Ram has picked up a shot. The pre-tournament favourite, winner of the Irish Open 2 years ago, to go to 4 under par. John Ram with a birdie on the first. Great start for him. Cormac Sharvin teed off just after 7 o'clock this morning. A 66 from the Northern Ireland player yesterday. He's made a bogey and pars through the first 8 holes, so he's back to 3 under par. Ian Poulter, an early drop shot, back to 3 under par as well. A lot of the Irish out later. We have Robin Dawson's 2 under par from Waterford, just turned pro not too long ago. So he's 2 under. Brian Casey, Seamus Power, Paul McBride, they're all level par. Paul Dunn, Michael McGeady and Conor Rourke are all 1 over. Gavin Moynihan's 2 over alongside Graham McDowell, also +2. Darren Clark is 1 over. And Shane Lowry, 4 under par, tees off at 20 past 1.
Conditions are holding up there, John, and you've gone through the Irish contingent there, and Cormac Sharvin was somebody we were talking about earlier on in the show, because there's a couple of lines doing the run, I'm sure you know well about it. His very, very unfortunate look in Q School recently. He's got quite the backstory.
He does, yeah. He missed out by, I think, a shot at Q School in the last fall, as the Americans would say, to get his European Tour card for this season, because he got a 2-stroke penalty for having his ball on his tee just like a few millimetres above where he should have been hitting it. So it seems that golf is extremely precise. Maybe it seems very harsh, but these are the rules of golf. I don't think he had any complaints about it, but it was bitter luck. It was really unlucky. A lot of it, fellow peers came out and said how unlucky he was. But he's done well on the Challenge Tour, which is the kind of the feeder tour, the satellite tour for the European Tour. 3 top 10s in that at recent times. So he played in the Walker Cup a few years ago with Paul Dunn, Cormac Sharvin.
We appear to have lost John's connection in Lahinch there. We'll get back to John maybe before we wrap up, but no worries there. We managed to get the cliff notes there, which is that Padraig Harrington has bogeyed the first at Lahinch this morning. He's back to 6 under par, so he's now in a tie for the lead with Xander Lombard on 6 under par. And I've just stolen your thunder, Thom Malone, because I presume that's your top story.
Well, yeah, I've just drawn a couple of lines to my... well, I started yesterday by saying that Padraig Harrington's an absolutely dreadful price at 100 to 1. So, I don't know.
What would a good price have been?
I don't know. I just didn't think he could contend. Anyway, we'll see how he goes. It started with a bogey, which obviously isn't great. Some breaking news, though. Derby County have announced Philip Cocu as their new manager. The former Dutch international has signed a 4-year contract there with the Rams. Former Republic of Ireland goalkeeper, by the way, Shay Given, will remain as part of the new look coaching team as head goalkeeping coach. Cocu obviously replacing Frank Lampard there, has taken over at Chelsea. So obviously the big news there is that Shay Given has been a lot of speculation that he was actually going to go and join Frank Lampard at Chelsea, but that's not the case. Because Lampard,
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Lampard's just named his backroom team as well. So his team is Jody Morris and Chris Jones. They both switched from Derby, while Joe Edwards and Eddie Newton have been promoted from existing roles in the club.
They're bringing back Lillian, I think, as well, aren't they? So
you were saying this is more to do with Chelsea's backup at that position?
Yeah, I didn't expect him to go. I read the headline there today. I didn't expect Shay to be going at any stage. Whether or not he stays at Derby, I don't know. I know that's the announcement now, but we'll see. Maybe going down the line, but I expect him certainly in the initial immediate future. Sorry, he'll be staying there with Derby. Yeah,
because it was announced in the Derby press release, his name was specifically mentioned as staying on the staff. So it's intriguing.
He's highly thought of, though, isn't he? I mean, it seems to have been
he's only been there a year, hasn't he? So he's only been coaching this last year, and I think he's done well. I think the goalkeeper's there. I mean, that's why I think when we have him on the show a few times, he's spoken glowingly about Lampard and what he's doing, and it seemed like he was going to go, but I think it became fairly apparent fairly quickly that Chelsea have got enough maybe club legends that's in the club as well in at Chelsea, and that seems to be the route that they go in Chelsea there with the people that they're bringing in around Lampard. Yeah,
is that the right way, the club legends route?
No, I don't think it is, but that's just the reality, isn't it?
There's good piece of thing in the Garden the other day about the getting it at the club, how important it is for being a football manager, but not relevant to any other job.
It's knowing the very fibre of the club.
I know. Well, I listen to the radio all the time, so that's why. That's basically the same logic, isn't it? But Cork City, meanwhile, they learned their Europa League qualifying opponents last night. Progress Niederkorn of Luxembourg will visit Turner's Cross next Thursday in the first qualifying round after their away goals victory over Cardiff Met University last night. Tonight in the SSE Electricity Premier Division, Cork welcome Bows to Leaside for that clash. Leaders Dundalk, meanwhile, they head up to Derry City. Shamrock Rovers will look to keep the pressure on Dundalk. They entertain Sligo. Waterford hosts St Patrick's Athletic, and the bottom two meet in Belfield with ECD playing Finn Harps. Just a reminder of the action today at Wimbledon. Rafael Nadal obviously got the better of Nick Kyrgios yesterday in 4 sets to advance the third round of Wimbledon. Men's top seed and defending champion Novak Djokovic is in third round action later. He'll face Hubert Hurkacz of Poland. Simona Halep is up against Australian Open champion Victoria Azarenka, was probably the pick of the ties. That'll be on centre court this afternoon. While Coco Gauff continues her fairy tale, looking to get into a second week. She's up against Polona Herzog there this afternoon. Andy Murray made a winning return to SW19 yesterday when he moved into the second round of the men's doubles with a 3-set win alongside his doubles partner Pierre-Hugues Herbert. But he's back today. What's this, the tennis equivalent of I don't know, the Travelling Wilburys, Mick Busted, the Dream Team, when he teams up with Serena Williams on centre court. And like a concert, we still don't know when it's going to be on.
Let's hope it's not Batman versus Superman.
Andy Murray and Serena Williams in the same term as Mac Busted. Let's be quite honest about that now. Let's leave that.
Well, Mac Busted away better. Is that what you're saying? No, look, it's... that'll be on round about 5:30. It'll be on after 5:30, so it'll be on the TV later. Most likely on centre court. It just depends on the order of play and how things get tidied up sort of earlier on in the day. In the GAA, by the way, Kilkenny are through to the Leinster Under-20 Hurling Championship final after a 119-115 win over Galway in Tullamore last night. Owen Cody scored the goal for DJ Kerry's side, who play Wexford in the final. DJ Kerry's son, by the way, centre half back. I suppose if you are DJ Kerry's son, you don't want to be a forward, do you? But he played centre half back in that team. Michael Carey. And there's an 8-race card this evening from Bellewstown. They go to post from 5:10. Their July festival continues as well. And 25 minutes later, the racing action gets underway from Wexford.
Good stuff, Tom. Just a couple of things to tell you about. We're delighted to announce that 3 and 20 by 20 will bring you a very special Off the Ball roadshow celebrating role models and the essential part they play in getting women and girls into sport. This is on July the 11th, and we're going to gather some of the greatest sporting talent Ireland has ever produced to find out what made them fall in love with sport and who helped them along that way. Our host of legends includes Olympic icon Sonia O'Sullivan, Annalise Murphy, Rena Buckley, Mary O'Connor, Jessica Harrington and Kate Harrington, with more to be announced in the coming days, so keep an eye on that. The live show takes place in the Alex Hotel and there are limited tickets. To register now, go to offtheball.com/events. There is no age limit on this event, so all are welcome. It's an exclusive off-air event, so the only way you can see it is by being there. For more information, head over to offtheball.com/events. And just one last thing we wanted to play before we wrapped up today. Dublin's Laura Toomey is AIG's ambassador for the 20 by 20 movement. She's been speaking to Stephen Doyle.
It's been a mixed start to the championship though as well. You've had a win, defeat, most recently the loss to Waterford. So do you feel now is there no room for any more defeats, do you think, for the rest of the round robin?
Yeah, I mean, we had that good win against Meath at the start. They're obviously only up in senior the last couple of years, so it was, crucial that we got that victory over. And they gave us a good challenge out in Parnells. At home they're a very physical side, and we were bitterly disappointed to come out with no points on the board to Waterford. We had gone down there with only one result in our mind, but they just outworked us a little bit more cleverer on the day. But we'll take an awful lot from that. But it's all it's all to play for now. With the teams, especially with the big group. So we're looking towards Cork, obviously welcoming All Ireland champions now down to Parnells again on Saturday. What more do you want other than a massive tough challenge? But we're not going into that game only looking for a performance. We have to get the wins. So we've had 2 weeks off now since Waterford to work on various aspects of the game and improve just small parts that where we fell down against them. So we need to get 3 more wins now out of the next 3 games, and there's a lot of teams kind of vying for the second and third place at the moment, because Cork probably will get through in the first, considering they've had wins over the other teams as well.
Laura Toomey there speaking to Stephen Doyle there recently. You can get the full piece back on youtube.com/off the ball. And that is pretty much our lot on OTBAM this morning. Thanks a million to Kev, for more Treasa and Tom. It's good to see that you're still friendly and that you're happy. It'll last for another 24 hours at least.
Despite his connection to Litzer Mode.
If you missed anything, you can get it all back on the podcast or watch back our highlights over at youtube.com/off the ball. We had David Brady on this morning. We had Dermot Whelan on this morning doing his Kevin Kilbane impression, and Kevin Kilbane laughing awkwardly, trying not to get a little bit angry about it, because it was very on the money. It was very good at sport catching.
When I go out and about now, people actually say to me, "Where's your ice cream van?" I'm like, Jesus Christ, lads, come on.
We also had Rebecca Myers previewing the World Cup final on Sunday, so you can get that one back as well. One word, Galway or Mayo? You've got
the pause.
We've got 65 seconds.
Mayo. I don't know. I can't
Mayo.
call it.
Favourites Galway. Yeah.
Galway. Tom.
Mayo,
right, so that's 2-1. Coming up on OTB Sports Radio today, it's our brand new sports radio station for anybody who doesn't know. We've got the latest episode of the League of Ireland pod at 12, Gold with Mike Lohan at 1 o'clock, Irish Open latest, and there's a GA qualifiers preview from 2 o'clock. Friday night racing from 3, Land of the Rising Scrum on Samoa is coming up from 4 o'clock, and then a League of Ireland podcast from 5. More Off the Ball Gold then coming up at 6 o'clock, and a Legends interview with Dennis Ogie Moran. Off the Ball is live from 7 o'clock tonight as ever on a Friday night, and a smashing weekend ahead on Off the Ball as well. Saturday panel features around the Women's World Cup. Last night's My Taxi Road show is going to be played out as well. All Ireland qualifiers preview. You will not miss a thing on the GEA throughout the next couple of days on Off the Ball. John Duggan, of course, is at the Irish Open as well. We've also got Land of the Rising Scrum focusing on Namibia, and then Sunday pay-per-view at Aidan O'Hara and Jack Anderson, Anthony Moyles at Clare versus Meath, Daithí Regan at Laois versus Dublin. We're back on Monday morning at 7:30. We'll chat to you then. Bye-bye for now.
OTB AM. Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.